Silent?
Oh, we're live now, everybody. So yeah,
Oh,
so my name's Andrew Davis, and obviously I host conversations in pop culture. This is not that show. Me and my friend Keenan are legitimately gonna bullshit and talk about WrestleMania Night One. I thought it was a pretty good show. I was thoroughly entertained for 6 hours, so I have no complaints on that. But we're gonna talk about it, and I'm sure we're gonna have some fair criticisms and some dismissals. But in the meanwhile, before we dive too much into it, I do want to remind everybody, and I'll put the link up in a little bit, that you could buy this bad boy right here or this bad girl, which is a big titted psycho killer metal card that's limited to 50. So you could go buy this thing for 15 bucks on eBay. I'll put the link up in a little bit, but yeah, this is a really cool card that I have, and it's all metal, as you can see. It's not like flimsy. I can't bend it. I can't do anything like that. It doesn't bend like this, but it's kind of like a metal trading card. So yeah,
um, you just paused on me.
yeah. So we're talking about WrestleMania, guys. So what was your take on it, man?
I was entertained as you were. I mean, I just like I said, dude, I feel like I'm the old curmudgeon when I watch this shit. I'm like, well, back in my day, wrestling used to be. No, I mean, not really like that, but I mean, I do want to say,
So before we dive into it, Keenan, how old are you?
shit, I'm 92 years old now. I just turned 39. Just turned March 18th, 39th birthday.
So just to put this in perspective, he's only 10 years older than me. I'm 29.
Yeah.
So he looks a lot older than he seems. But you're not. We're not
Wow.
that far off.
Wow.
We're not that
Thanks.
far
Yeah.
off.
Well, see, I lean into it though. So I claim, like, if I was not being honest, I would have told your audience I was like 59. But I usually add 20 because I look great for 59 years old, dude. If you look at me like, damn, Keenan, you're doing good for 59. But
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know what I look like. I don't know if I look like because people say, "Oh, you look like you're like 35," and I'm like, I really need to shave.
you look like a child, to child compared. I was actually in the grocery store the other day, and I was somehow my daughter's birth year came up, and it's 2002, and the girl behind the counter was like, "Huh, I was born in 2002 too." Like, she was surprised, and she was like, "Yeah, thanks for pointing that out. You could be my kid. Thanks, I appreciate that. Like, it's not that surprising. Good job, good job."
I was in a bank moving money around, dealing with an IRA and funding my Roth, and the teller was about to tell a story because he was an ex firefighter about a guy was at cheating on his wife and had a romantic thing planned and apparently set his girlfriend who he's cheating with house on fire, and lo and behold, who shows up is his wife because everybody crowds around a fire. And he stops in the middle of this story and he's like, "How old is your son?" To my father, who basically drove me to the bank. And I'm like, "I'm 29." So you can tell whatever story you want to tell. Like, I don't think you understand who I am. Like, I've interviewed a lot of people, I've interviewed porn stars. Like, I am as dirty as they come.
Right, right. Well, I mean, I don't think it was really about your age. It might be like how old your father looks or the age of your father. He might have been like, "Hey, this might not, this."
You know what it is? I think he just wanted to be on the caution side because sometimes in life, even though people are moving around what seems like a lot of money for somebody who's young, you never know who has money, who doesn't, why they have things. And in today's society, you have to be careful.
Oh, dude, they're probably surprised when you have a couple zeros in there. Just like, dude, every time I go to the doctor and the nurse is like, "You didn't check diabetes," I'm like, "Yeah, I know, I don't have that." They act like, "You sure?" Like, no, I could just be fat and not have diabetes. That could just be a thing, I don't have to have diabetes just because I could just have bad toenails. I have diabetes. I'm sorry, I'm joking. I'm joking. Let's talk about some damn wrestling, man.
Yeah, so what do you think of the entire show before we break it down match by match and
Well, I
criticize the
mean,
entire show?
all right, my whole curmudgeon outlook on it is, and this is a very Jim Cornette type of thing, is I think that now WrestleMania has a stadium that's looking for a WrestleMania to fill it instead of having a WrestleMania to like need a stadium, like it's just it is 2 nights now. Like I feel like if you would have put those 2 nights together, it would have been a nonstop, just action upon action. But and I'm gonna give it like I thought the women's wrestling tonight was really good. And I'm usually not a huge women's wrestling fan. I see a lot of cuts and a lot of like they do a lot of editing. Like, and I'm not a huge fan of that. Like seeing when somebody's in the corner and they're trading shots and it edits back and forth from side to side. Like there's
Do you mean edit, or do you mean that they changed camera angle?
change camera angles, cuts. My bad. Change like live edit. Like they change camera angles.
The only reason why I ask that is that sometimes wrestling is pre-recorded. And
Right.
when there's pre-recorded stuff, and in the COVID era, and I'm giving a little inside baseball, one of the things that in a pre-recorded match, you can edit things together, and you could put things in, sort of move things, and if you have 4 camera angles, you pick the 2 that you like and the 2 you don't. But you
Right.
mean camera angles, but continue.
Camera. No, you're right. You're right. You're right. Thanks for correcting me. You're obviously the host. My bad, buddy. My bad.
I'm
But,
sorry. It's just it's so natural for me to do it, and it's something I have to work on as an individual.
camera edits that I noticed, like I noticed in the Sasha Blair, Becky Lynch. I noticed some.
Yeah, Becky versus Bianca.
Yeah, and it seemed like their camera. And I also noticed in that match that you could definitely tell a couple of times when Becky Lynch was like giving her, telling Sasha Blair what to do and everything, or
Bianca.
Bianca Blair. Jesus, see, this is what I'm saying,
No,
man.
I'm here. I'm here for you.
No, I'm saying I feel like the Danny Glover, and I'm too old for this shit, man. Too old for this shit.
So,
But
let's talk about the entire basic thing, because I'm going to challenge a little bit.
right.
My whole thing about WrestleMania is that WWE is a business and they are a publicly traded company. So they have to answer for a few things. At this point, they are a $4 to $5 billion company, and they've crossed the line of bringing in over $1 billion of revenue. So now at this stage, they can't pretend to be a small time company. And so I understand that you have sponsors like DoorDash or Cricket, or you're an AT&T Stadium.
Yeah.
AT&T is a big company. And so I get that you have to take corporate precautions. And also the idea is that now they got some serious competitors with AEW and some other things that are out there. And so I think that there gets to a point where you have to now treat it saying, we are now an event, and we're no different than a concert. And that's how I view it. And so I think that, and also a lot of what I viewed with, especially with the Logan Paul thing, is that they're trying to bring in viewers, because a lot of people have Peacock now for free for other reasons, and they want to be trending on Twitter. It's the same reason why Ronda Rousey and Stone Cold Steve Austin were in matches tonight. No question
The
about it.
Rousey Flair, that was another good women's match that, man, I thoroughly enjoyed. That was one of the better matches of the night to me, and I was surprised by that because I am an old curmudgeon. Women's wrestling's crap. No, I'm joking.
So to even talk about that, because obviously I grew up in a different era where I grew up in bra and panties matches, and that was when I entered back in 2006. And
Okay, man, you realize I was like 16 years old for bra and panties. I remember I was there watching live, not live in person, but watching live on the TV when Jerry Lawler said the puppies the first time. I remember when that man said, "Oh, look at the puppies." I remember that, man. Come on now.
one of my first matches that I watched on Monday Night Raw, laying in I guess where my mom's living room, was the back to school match between Tori Wilson and Candice Michelle. And it was great because I think Candice won it, but she spanked Tori, and then Tori spanked Candice Michelle, and it was a great match, collectively brilliant. Horrible match, fun ending, which is what people wanted. I remember, Kelly's expose, that was fun. I remember ECW strip poker.
Yeah.
And look, you know what it is? I frequently watch a company called Lingerie Fighting Championship. It is what the name says.
I would never guess that about you, man. You just don't seem like the type that would enjoy that type of sport at all. That just doesn't seem like your type of thing, man. My bad. Go ahead.
I don't know if you're being facetious or
I am
sarcastic.
definitely being facetious. You totally seem like that type of dude. Like the only football you watch is that one where the women are showing their midriffs, and they have that like that's a terrible football. Like
Oh, hey! I've watched part of that. I paid for a
those
season of that
those
too. I
ladies got some
enjoyed that.
grass burns. Like you got to wear some clothes. They're making those ladies like what I would actually pay for is to see the dudes like play football in the exact same shit. Like let's see that. Let's do that, man. Come on, dude. Let's go.
So my whole thing is that my view on the entire thing is that I understand they have corporate sponsors,
Mm-hmm.
and that now we're talking real money. I mean, on
Mm-hmm.
a gate on WrestleMania, they're probably going to clear at least 20 to 30 million in profit. So
Yeah.
I get that that's what has to happen, and that they also have a $1 billion deal with Peacock. They have other deals, and maybe not billions, but hundreds of millions of dollars with other providers, and there's also pay-per-view buys. And so they need to drive social media attention, which is why Logan Paul, Ronda Rousey, and Stone Cold Steve Austin were in matches, because guess what? Those things trend on Twitter and they get attention. And if you're in the US or a country that supports Peacock, but you're getting WWE Network for free, and then you watch it, which makes their corporate sponsors happy. And the only reason why I know this is because I used to have corporate sponsors, and I'm
Yeah.
trying to find a new one. I think I'm going to find a new one in the next 2 months.
You want,
But it's the idea that I understand that I have to keep those people happy.
you
And
want us to
so,
keep if you have more guests like me on, just maybe keep me off the air, dude. Like
see,
I
see,
might
but
hinder you.
I don't know. See, I'm at the stage now where I'm having controversial guests, and somebody explained to me, Hart Fisher explained to me, saying, "Who built your audience? Did your sponsor build your audience, or did you build the audience?" And the question is that I built the audience. So me doing something like this might get me a new page like on my page.
Controversy is king, man. King.
So I don't have a problem with them filling seats. I
Right.
guess where I have a problem is them with WWE putting on for the sake of a name, just for the sake of a name, right? Like that's
Yeah.
where I have an issue. So I think that I enjoyed the Logan Paul match, but I also understood that that was to drive traffic to the rest of the card.
Yeah, but
And
Logan Paul was he did do decent. I mean, he was pretty decent. I was surprised by how good he was at it. I didn't like the Eddie Guerrero thing. Like, what the hell was that? Especially do the Eddie Guerrero thing and they win. He got his in the end, but still, like, come on, dude. The frog splash and the three amigos. That's not cool.
so I'm pretty sure Ray signed off on it.
I
I,
under- I get that, but that still doesn't make it cool in my book. If Chris Rock signed off on the slap, I still don't think that makes it
You
cool
want
in
to
my
talk about
book, bro.
Slapgate next? I'm
No,
down
I
to talk
do.
about
What, dude,
Slapgate.
I don't. We don't have to talk about. The when I first saw the slap, I felt like I was watching WWF.
Oh no! I think Will Smith should be absolutely punished for Slapgate. I think Will Smith did not go far enough in this circumstance. I think the thing about his slap was that it was indicative of his marriage, which was open.
How long you been working on that joke, my man?
I took that joke from
In
somebody.
your head, were you like, "Thank God, Keenan brought up the slap. I got the perfect joke for this shit."
No. I stole that joke from somebody, and I got no problem admitting that I stole that joke from somebody. But it
You
really is
hack.
indicative. My whole take on Will Smith is that I didn't even think it was WWE. I just thought it was assault. That's what I thought.
I thought it was. If it is true, if it is was a real thing, I think it was assault. But when I first saw it, it looked like they were just about arm's length apart to where just fingertips would hit him in the face. They're both actors. They both have taken punches in acting before. I think Chris Rock even did some wrestling at some point, like some TNA stuff or some shit, or like some point.
Oh, I don't even know. I don't even
I heard
know.
that on one because I listened to Jeff Jarrett and Eric Bischoff talk about it. Because I like when I first saw it, I was like, that looks kind of fake. And
See, the reason why I don't think it was fake, and this is just me, is that Chris Rock, I think, thought he was like Richard, meaning, and he was almost thinking that it was going to be played off as a joke.
right,
And you can see that Chris Rock, um, as the approach, and I don't think that, and the reason why it was a slap and not an open punch is that Chris Rock moved his hand up, and that made sure that it was a slap, not a
yeah.
punch. It was also the idea that if Will Smith was really pissed off and they wanted to make it look a little better, it would have been a fake punch,
but
not a slap, because a slap is insulting to a man.
and Chris Rock did not sell it at all. Homeboy didn't even touch his face. Didn't he? I mean, so I don't know. I don't know. I mean, let's just we're chasing the dragon here, dude. We're never gonna get the high that the first one gave us.
Yeah, no. My whole thing is that I don't think it was fake. That I
I don't
think.
now I also like I've heard more and more about it, and I've heard different things, but I'm just saying my first take on it was it looked very WWF to me. My first take. Now I'm kind of leaning towards the side of, well, maybe it wasn't WWF. Maybe I was wrong. I'm only saying WWF because that's like when I first saw it, I felt like I was
No,
watching
you're for
wrestling.
the animals, man. World Wildlife Foundation. It's all good. I
Uh,
understand the pandas need to be protected, right?
Not until the pandas start caring about the animals I pay for in my house. That's what I say every time I go into Petco. You want to donate to some dogs? Like, no. Can you start asking for donations for my dogs and stuff? Like, when are you gonna add my dogs to this list? Because we could use some help. We got animals over here. Charity starts at home. In fact, just when you add my name, would you like to donate to and Keenan Press right there to take care of his dogs?
It's so interesting that you bring that up. This is so far out of the realm. My whole thing right now is that I obviously ran a Kickstarter for this entire thing, which was just a gigantic donation page. In
Yeah.
reality, that's what Kickstarter is. And maybe you get something out of your donation. I got no problem admitting that. And look, I run a service and I interview people, and I'm not asking for $1 million, but I did 172 people for season 2. If everybody gave me $5, I would have about $850, which would cover all my costs, and then I'd have $150 left, which would go into the next year. And then guess what? I then will ask for $5 again. Now, my whole problem with people is that you want to be on my show and you want to give me nothing. What the fuck? Like, you ever hear
Right.
that it's called maybe charity or it's called appreciation? I make this statement every once in a while on Facebook. I say, I wish that people would treat me as I treat them because I
Right.
like to treat people well. Like, if you need help with your podcast, man, you offer to pay me, and I don't think you mind me. But I got no problem sitting down with you for 2 hours to help with your StreamYard for free. Like, I
Right.
don't have a problem doing that. But I would pray and I would hope that somebody would treat me as well as I treat other people. And what I'm
Right.
finding is that people don't do it, and it bothers the fuck out of me. And if you're like, can you throw me $5 for this charity for these other people? And I'm like, what the fuck? Like, you're not treating me well.
No,
So,
nobody will ever do that, man. That's nobody will ever treat you the way nobody respects the golden rule at all, man. And the only thing that I could say is that
I'm
if
starting to
you
act accordingly. I mean, I'm starting to figure out who takes care of me. So if somebody
right,
throws me $25, they become a priority for me.
right,
Like that's where it's becoming. And guess what? They don't need to throw me $25 in 3 months from now to get another interview. I'll do that
right,
interview for free because you
right,
already showed that you're going to give me money. But I'm
right,
not going to interview you for like a third. I'll interview you 3 times in a year, every 3 months. But if we're now in a new year, I kind of expect you to throw me some more money.
right,
And then as the money dries up, you become less and less of a priority, which
right,
which is understandable. But like, if you were to give me $25, anytime you need help, I'm on speed dial for at least a year. You know what I mean?
right,
And so that's how I'm viewing it. And what I'm finding is that people are now willing to buy access to me because they understand that for $20, you're not now buying me for one interview. You're buying me for the next 12 months.
Right.
And I'm not going to charge you again for $20. And somebody said, hey, I bought 2 interviews on your Kickstarter. We're going to have a third one. I'm like, dude, I'll take care of you. Don't worry about it.
Right.
Because it's just kindness. But if you have paid me $6 and you want 4 interviews this year, we have a fucking problem.
Right.
And
Yeah, I
that's what I
understand.
mean by the golden rule is that there gets a point where you got to start fucking throwing real money or bringing me some real value.
Right.
And that's where I'm at.
Well,
And
yeah,
I don't know.
maybe if they can't afford to pay you some money, maybe maybe they have to bring you value and content in some way.
I'll give you an example. My friend Ben Lacey has a column called Shark of War. I was joking around. I like to fuck around on Facebook and I like to do stupid shit. Be like, oh, you should bring him on. We should get this guest on and this artist on. And then you tag the artist, and I'm just being playful.
Right.
Ben helped to make that artist actually get on my show. So you don't think I'm
Right.
not going to have Ben on my show? Because he helped to get me an artist who's an upcoming artist who I'm probably going to steal him for some artwork. He's coming
Right.
on my show. So that's bringing me a connection.
That's value.
That's beyond value. And all of a
Mhm.
sudden, somebody who knows Mandy Rose who's in WWE, and obviously it's a little bit complicated because she's in WWE. She's a high profile NXT star. But at the
Yeah.
same time, if somebody can connect me with somebody, well, congratulations, you have access to me because
Right.
you can help me. And that's the way the world works. I don't know who you know exactly, but you know somebody where I'm going to tap a favor from you from some point, and you're probably going to tap a favor from me because I know a lot of people. But guess what? This is how shit works. I don't need your money. I want your connection.
Someday you're gonna ask me for a favor. No, I'm joking. The Godfather Mecca Davis over here. Favor for a favor.
But I don't think that it's not quid pro quo. It's the
No, I
idea
get it.
that,
I get
and
it,
so
man.
again, my whole problem is that's where I'm at. But I wish that people would treat me as well as I treat them. I really do.
It's never gonna happen, unfortunately. Unfortunately, that's just the way it goes. Maybe I don't mean that like they'll never pay. I mean just in general. People don't do that too much anymore. Like you have to push for it. Like, dude, I literally when I was a chef, man, I had a guy come to me and he was like, "Well, hey, you got some new clients now because of me." And I was like, "Well, I got them because I work here at your place. But if I wasn't a good chef, they wouldn't hire me." He's like, "Well, I can't get a discount." Like, dude, this is my fucking livelihood, bro. I can't be giving discounts. What if everybody wants a discount because I cooked good at their place and somebody else liked it? I can't do that, man. So I get you exactly. Let's
No,
talk
no, no,
about the
no, no,
damn
no. I
wrestling. We're,
mean,
we're going on 6 hours like the damn WrestleMania did today, man. Like
wait,
I
wait,
can
wait.
spend 6 hours watching that damn show. If our show goes 6 hours, I'm not sure I'm gonna make it, dude. I'm 89 years old, and you're gonna fucking kill me. You're gonna kill me. All
So,
right,
so,
cool.
so, 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 so obviously, let's get back into wrestling because clearly, let's actually break down the
I'm
card.
too old for this shit. Start with the first match. What was the first match on the card tonight?
It was the Usos versus Shinsuke Nakamura and Rick Boggs,
I'm
or
glad you said
as
that.
Michael Cole calls him, Rick Boobs.
That's what they were saying. I felt like they were calling him Rick Boobs the entire damn time. Didn't he
Let
get
me
married?
explain. Let me explain. I think I shut out like 50 tweets about that. Like legitly, I was tweeting throughout the entire show, and I did like 50,000 impressions, right?
Yeah.
On Twitter tonight. And so, like, what was going on is that I'm like, is it Rick Boggs or Rick Boobs? And I'm like, I don't know, because that's how it sounded. So, but what was your take on that match? It was for
Um.
the WWE SmackDown Tag Team
Did
Championships.
Boobs really get hurt, or was that a work? Because
I don't
before I
know.
talk shit, because he got hurt, and they fucking carried him to the side of that ramp. I'm like, they don't have a stretcher. They can't afford a stretcher in Cowboy Stadium to roll him up that damn ramp. These like 6 guys are carrying this huge ass dude up there.
See that's the whole thing is that they said that he got legitly hurt but I don't know if it's a work. And the reason why I say this is that I don't know if they're just trying to get Rick Boggs away from Shinsuke Nakamura. Maybe Shinsuke is going to have a big push, or they're gonna push Rick Boggs in a month and a half, or maybe his wife is pregnant. You know
And
what I mean? And maybe
right.
he needs 6 weeks off because
And
he wants to spend time with his wife. Because
and
that's happened before.
didn't one of the Usos have legal trouble, not health problems? Like,
It might have been Jay. No, I think it was Jimmy who had some legal issues.
right, but but in the broadcast they were like, the Usos had some problems with health over the last couple. They're finally back together. They finally got it together. They both health is good. I was like, didn't one of them have like some legal shit going on, man?
One of them had like a big DUI
Yeah,
problem,
I know, but it's just like some
like
of us are
Jeff
growing up.
Hardy level DUI.
Yeah, I know. Then just don't bring it up, man. Just don't be like, hey, just say, hey, this is the Usos' first time back. Don't lie to any of us, man, because then some of us are actually grown ups and be like, yo, bitch, not cool, man,
It
not
it,
cool.
it,
But I
it
thought the
wasn't
match
it
was good.
wasn't hard to figure out when the Usos had a
Yeah,
DUI problem.
right.
I
I
don't
thought the
know.
match was pretty good. I like that whatever that name that you said. I don't want to fuck it up. Can you say that name again?
Rick Boggs,
No, Nakashi, whatever. What's the
Shinsuke Nakamura.
Yeah, there you go. See, I was already so I don't want to get us canceled, dude. So I'm just gonna point to you and say it whenever I
That
fuck
could
up.
get us canceled,
But I
dude.
thought it
I
was.
don't think you know who I am.
Uh,
Clearly, this
I know.
show, I interviewed Jim. So basically, I did Tristan TriStar Thompson, who was Tristan TriStar, and then like a week later, I did David Whaling on my birthday, and then I did Jim Noble, who basically publishes a porn comic, and we went through all of his covers, and it was great. And I knew what I was doing. I knew what I was going to get myself into. I
I
don't
knew.
really care because, again, it's my show. So you're not going to get me canceled. If I have a sponsor that says we don't like X, I'm going to say, okay, that's fine. Do you want to discontinue this sponsorship, or do you want to continue because I'm going to convert?
Right.
And I have. My sponsors
There you
don't
go.
dictate my content. They never will,
Good.
because I'm going to be doing this for the next 40 years. And
There
I'm going to
you
make
go.
millions off of this.
Good.
And I mean, my sponsor, I'm not going to mention their name because I don't like to disparage. What they don't understand is that I think they're going to come back to me in about 6 months. And since they canceled, my rate's just gone up. I was going to keep them at X rate for the next 6 months. And what they don't understand is that if they come back to me, it's kind of like, well, you made a bad decision because you basically struck daddy.
Right. There you
Daddy,
go.
daddy is very forgiving, but it's an extra $200 for your fuckery.
I don't want to be spoken to like that, Mecca. Like not even to me in any way. Don't even tell me those type of stories, mother. No, I'm joking. But I thought that dude Shinsuke
Yeah,
Nakamura.
Shinsuke Nakamura.
Yeah, there we go. I'm close. I thought it was a pretty good match, man. It ended very abruptly because I think he possibly was really hurt, man. Like I remember, I just kind of like looked up and I was like, oh shit, it's over.
It seemed odd to me that the two Usos, for a powerful guy, would overpower him, and I think something went wrong. And
Well,
and
they
I think it became very, very evident because that match was extremely short.
Yeah, I think he was going for something with both Usos on top of him, like a slam with both of them up there, and then he hurt his leg or whatever it was, and because then I heard him like when they were playing the replay, like I think that was actually an offensive maneuver from the Usos. Like, oh, you know what? I think you're right. I'm like, nah, dude, I don't think so, dude. I don't think so. But good play, man. Just like he didn't have a DUI. Whatever, dude.
No,
Whatever.
no, no. I didn't know in which that I didn't think anything of it. I just thought that it was sort of a stupid, not WrestleMania match
Yeah, I agree.
quality.
I agree.
And, but given the fact that he was carried out, given the fact all of that, I can't fault them because I have a feeling if Rick Boggs was healthier, it would have been more of a we're coming out of the
Yeah.
gate strong.
Yeah. I mean, I mean, could you think of a better opening match for night one, which is basically like it feels like it's a side stage at a concert. Like, oh, we want to go check out this act at stage two. Like, I'm not walking the fuck over there. I'm staying to stage one.
Honestly, I think that the Drew McIntyre and Happy Corbin match would have been better
As
to
first
start
to
things off.
open the gates.
But I also think that Uso match did not go according to plan.
Right.
And I also think that something when because if you look at the first opening, I mean Shinsuke Nakamura came out pretty strong. They had a pretty
Yeah.
good opening. Also, they got their sponsorship money from Mike's Hard Lemonade in there, which is also important, which probably played a factor into it.
Right.
But again, I'm not angry about that match. That match to me was just okay, cool. I get it. Things happen, and I was pretty happy with the match. But I also didn't think it was a WrestleMania match.
Agreed. Agreed. What's match two?
It was Drew McIntyre defeated Happy Corbin, and I love Happy
Right.
Corbin with Matt Cap Moss, and I enjoyed that match a lot. What did you think of it?
I thought it was pretty good. I like the what was I didn't get the slicing of the ring. Like I didn't understand that point, but I thought the match was good up until I was like, why the fuck did we just slice it? Like we just did extra work and had to ruin this. Like I felt bad for the people that put the ring up, the hard working people of the.
I don't know what that was about. See, this is my question to you. Do you think that was intentional? Or do you think that Drew McIntyre said, fuck it. I want to do this shit, and why the fuck not? Like,
Could you, if it was like, from what I understood and from what I understand and what I've heard about putting a ring up, that it's no easy feat putting up those ropes and shit like that. Like, and for something to do that for something that's not cool, like he's already on. Like for some reason the guy can't get over. Like Vince McMahon told him he was gonna be the next star, but this guy can't get the fuck over for some reason.
so I don't know if he can't get the fuck over because he carried the belt for like 9 months and he did great with it. And I think he's also just in a downward trend right now
Right.
where WWE clearly is unifying the titles, and then
Yeah.
they're going to divide the titles at some point, and I guess they're almost going through a reset where whatever's going to happen is whoever wins, whether it's Brock or Roman, there's going to be about 5 months of the titles being under one reign, and then they're going to divide the titles again, much like they did with Becky Lynch and that
Right.
stuff, which makes sense. But I think that they need to figure out saying how are we gonna unify it so that we can divide it again and then reset this and then diverge paths again,
Right.
which makes sense to some degree. But I also my take on the match is that I thought the match was great, but I don't know if it was an accident or he just said I'm at WrestleMania because it definitely created a moment. And it could have been that maybe he was instructed to by the referee, given the nature that the entire first match was a blowout. And it could have been
Oh,
that.
and you know what? They might have to make up some time.
And so now that gave the ring crew 6 more minutes to fix it up, and then they could have played ads and some hype videos, and that might have bought, and it also scared the shit out of Mad Cat Moss because if you looked at his face, and maybe this was great acting, I don't think he was expecting that swing and the result of it because that thing, like I was completely shocked, where that to me did not look like that was planned.
And should they really be playing around with a sword that's that fucking sharp and like this, like for real, guys? Like y'all are in a fucking sweet science of ballet and y'all gonna mess around with a fucking metal sword that's that damn sharp out there?
I mean, I don't even know if this sword is that sharp or if Drew McIntyre is that much of a fucking monster.
Oh my gosh!
Because
Even just being a monster, like if it wasn't, it should, if it's not sharp or not that sharp, it would just kind of bounce
holy,
back up. Just like somebody got hit in the head with their own fucking chair at some point during the show. I mean, it kind of be like that. Just back, I don't know, man. I don't think.
I mean, I loved it. Don't get me
I thought
wrong.
it was a good match. I just didn't understand this. I was like, why?
I mean, I have a picture with Drew McIntyre. He was at a Met game, and it was a WWE Day back in a few years ago because they were in MetLife Stadium, and I went to WWE Day.
Yeah.
And what was fun about that, which was really cool, is that Drew McIntyre is a very approachable, very, very social guy. Or he is very good with fans, and he's very, very civil. He's a professional, for lack of a better word here. And guys like, yeah, I wish my career was going better too. And it was a very funny moment. And the picture's up on my Facebook page. I'm probably actually going to retweet it out because I love that picture. But the idea is that this was before he was a monster, and I don't really. Yeah, no, I loved it, and I thought it was brilliant. And whether the sword was sharp or he just said, fuck it, I don't really give a shit because, maybe you got to make decisions. You got to take risks, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I mean, but I don't know. I don't know on that one. That one I'm very confused on.
Right. I mean, it was all in all, it was a good match. I just wasn't. I was just trying to feel like, why would they cut the? But when you said that makeup time and stuff, maybe the first match was supposed to go 5 10 minutes more, and it just didn't. And now they had to make that time up, and
because the first match according to Wikipedia went 6 minutes and 55 seconds, which does not seem like a long time. That almost seems like it was rushed. And then the second match went 8 minutes and 35 seconds, which seems more normal for a second match. And I was kind of like, what are we doing here? Like, so maybe that's what it is. Or maybe he said, fuck it, I'm going to cut the rings because, well, WWE can get more sponsorships and the hype videos. So I don't know. But it's complicated.
Who knows?
I want to get to the controversial match, which is The Miz and Logan Paul defeated Rey Mysterio and Dominic by pinfall. So I'm sure you have an opinion on this.
I'm actually I'm a fan of The Miz because, again, I'm an old ass and I remember him being on The Real World. Like, I remember him doing that Miz shit on there. I was like, who is this fucking guy doing this Miz thing?
You mean the Republican Miz?
The Republican Miz? What? No, I don't. What are you talking about?
On The Real World, The Miz grew up in a very conservative town and was like, my father was a racist and I've never interacted with a gay person or a black person before. On The Real World, he openly admitted that.
I don't remember that part of it. I do remember that. Yeah, I do remember that the black woman really pissed a lot of people off at the beginning. But he was just like a country bumpkin, not knowing anything.
He's a Midwest country bumpkin, right?
What?
He was like an Ohio, Midwest, small town guy.
I don't know that much, but all I know is that I respect game. I respect somebody that can take it. And then I do remember being on the Tough Enough. I was like, this guy, he's seriously gonna. And then he didn't make it, and I was like, all right, that's a piece of shit. Well, all right. Then homeboy just keeps on plugging along, and just all of a sudden one day I was like, is that The Miz on freaking WWE? Man, and now it's like 15 years down the line. Like, you gotta respect that dude.
Two-time Grand Slam champion.
I know. He says that multiple times. I watched the documentary on the villains on the Peacock. There was some villains thing, and I watched it. And so is The Miz really a villain in my head? But then I was like, oh shit, he is a villain. No, I agree. No, you have to look up at me. I just haven't seen it that often. He hasn't popped up in my.
I respect The Miz. And so I respect The Miz, and the reason why is that guy has never been injured. Nope. That guy has what he said to Daniel Bryan on Talking Smack. Every goddamn word of what he said was so true. And you hear him responding, and he's been asked on it about interviews. He's like, I didn't know if I was going to be fired the next day.
And he keeps bringing up this injured thing. that's like a pitcher talking about a no hitter. You might want to shut up, Miz. You
No, no,
might
no,
not
no,
want
no.
to
But
bring up.
what he said to Daniel Bryan on Talking Smack, I think
Yeah,
solidified his career because
yeah.
I think Vince really appreciated that because that position made his career
I don't
with
know.
The
I
Miz.
watched that too. That was I thought
I
I'm
mean,
just saying like he keeps bringing up how he hasn't. I've heard him bring up like at least twice that he's never been injured. And
Chris Jericho brings that up too, and that's a very complicated thing with Chris Jericho as well, where it's like maybe you don't want to jinx yourself, but
that
The
was my thought.
Miz, this is where it gets complicated, right? Is that we all know why Logan Paul was there. We all know why, you know, Johnny Knoxville is going to be at WrestleMania tomorrow because it brings eyes to the product.
Yeah, Johnny Knoxville's just too. It's like we
So,
already
so
had one. We already had one old guy tonight, Stone Cold, which I appreciate the shit out. And Stone Cold's never looked older than he looked to me tonight. Like I've watched Broken
he,
Skull
he he
session.
was he was slow. He was slow on those stomps. You
Yeah,
could
and I'm
tell
just
where
talking about
where
like
where.
the way he looked in general. Like I'm just saying, like I've seen him on his Broken Skull sessions. I've seen him multiple times in multiple different outlets. But tonight, homeboy looked like the Crypt Keeper. Oh, it's like, dude, what is it? Just because like the bright lights of like
So
WrestleMania down
let's not get
on
ahead
you?
of ourselves with Stone Cold
All
here.
right, my bad. Go ahead, go ahead.
But I'm curious how you feel about that because obviously I know what Jim Crockett would say about this, where it's really because Logan Paul brought millions of dollars into WrestleMania without a doubt, and
Yeah.
Jake Paul brought millions of dollars as well into this, and they're far from over with Logan Paul at this point.
I don't know. Like you saw at the end of that match when the Miz knocked him out. Like, okay, well, we'll see y'all next pay per view. You're coming back. You're gonna, and he is the type of dude, just like the Miz, might be a reality celebrity that comes into the WWE. And
So this is my question to you about Logan Paul. Do you think that Logan Paul was there for the money, or do you think that he was there for the credibility and the clout and the viewership and building his brand? Because I
I
can tell
think
you what, yeah, what
I
you
think
saying?
a little bit of both. Because I mean, his wrestling was too damn good to not, or maybe he's just a really athletic guy. I don't know enough about the guy. I mean, I know he faced Mayweather, but again, money situations like Mayweather and him could have had a underhand deal like, hey, dude, we're gonna do this, but you're not gonna beat the crap out of me, right? Like,
Because I don't think that whatever Logan Paul's show on YouTube, and I've seen a few episodes, I don't think it's that good. I actually don't think it's that intellectual. I
right,
don't think I think for whatever reason he has a bunch of fans, but I actually don't think there's anything being really truly discussed. Like I don't get Logan Paul as a
I,
celebrity.
I've never. I have a habit of not watching people's show until they do something to make me want to. Like I've
Like
never seen a thing on Mr. Beast just because he's never done. Like I understand what he does. He gives away money. He does all these things. He does that. It's all great. I respect the hell out of it, but nothing's really made me want to click on it. And the same thing with Logan Paul and with all the other stuff. Until you do something to make me want to click on you, I'm not gonna click on you just because. You got enough other people to make me to click on you.
because I've watched Logan Paul and I don't get it. And look, I respect Logan Paul for being a huge Pokemon fan and picking up those Pokemon cards and stuff like that. But my whole thing is that like I don't find that you're doing something interesting. You know, I'll click on a cosplayer because she looks pretty on Instagram, and then I'm like, oh wow, you got a lot of cool shit going on.
Right.
Or I'll click on somebody's project and they got an NFT project going on. I'm like, okay, cool. What are we doing here?
Right.
What's the application use? And I hope people click on me because like, well, you got an interesting guest, and I want to know more.
Oh
Which
yeah,
is
exactly.
which is or you're providing intellectual I guess furtherance, and I
And
do
Logan
that as
Paul
well.
hasn't provided that at least for me to see and say like, okay, I'm gonna click on him.
I
You
mean,
know,
this is what we're just bullshitting. At least I'm hoping that people are going to watch this and be like, oh man, this is entertaining, and,
yeah.
and at least people are having a discussion about what happened. But
Hmm.
like For me, I respect the fucking hell out of going into a WWE ring.
Oh
I
yeah,
am
yeah.
disabled. I cannot go into a wrestling ring safely. As much as I would love to, that's a dream of mine. I would love to have a match at a WWE pay-per-view. Don't think that I wouldn't. I,
Yeesh.
I mean, as a wrestling fan, and then as somebody who came in high school, I'm not a lifelonger, but I came in right at the John Cena Edge
Uh,
feud, and man, I would love to have a match.
I was just saying sheesh, because damn, that is a lofty ass dream, my man. Lofty ass dream. But I mean,
Oh
good
no,
dream. I'm
it,
not
it,
talking shit.
I have a better chance of being an executive in WWE or running or creating my own promotion, which I may or may not do. But I'm probably not going to be a competitor
Yeah.
in my company, which is fine. There's nothing wrong with that. I understand that there are limitations sometimes in life for a variety
But
of reasons.
you could still be in the ring in some. I mean, you could still for
I
some. I
could I
mean,
could be in the business. I'm probably
JR's
not
gotten
going
his
to be a
ass kicked
wrestler.
in a WWE ring before. I mean, you could get your ass kicked in a ring, man. Not for
I
sure you're gonna get some punches off, but you can get your ass kicked in the ring.
It'd be cool to be stunned by Stone Cold Steve Austin or be AA'd by John Cena. If I ever get the opportunity to be in that situation, I'm absolutely going to ask for John Cena to give me an FU. Um,
Uh,
but that's not the point because why or really what I want is I want an RKO by Randy Orton. That would be
that's a
dope.
better goal at the moment. John Cena's got. You better have millions of dollars to pay that dude. Be like, hey man, here you go. I just want to f you, buddy.
No. I want him to f you me.
I know, but he's Mr. Movie Star. It's like trying to get a rock bottom from doing. He's like, man, I don't
I
do
don't
that
know.
shit,
I
man.
don't think it's that hard. I don't think it's that hard to do it. I think that
That's
there's
what
a
she
real.
said. That's what she
Yeah.
said.
Okay, Michael Scott. Okay.
I am the boss of this office. All right, so I did like I liked the whole match. I thought I was really surprised because when I saw Logan Paul coming out, I was like, okay, this beach is just coming down to do some nothing floppy stuff. But he was actually, I thought he was a pretty good wrestler. I thought he'd be. Maybe that was me looking because I expected so little from him. When I actually saw that he brought something, I was like, oh, okay, he's not terrible. When you downplay yourself, or maybe just the fact that I downplayed him in my head. But then
So
I
yeah,
enjoyed the Miz. I thought it was a good match.
I think that Logan Paul and the Miz made that match. I actually did not think Rey Mysterio and Dominic Mysterio were that great.
No, I don't, and I think that's. I thought like when I was texting you, I told you I'd like to see the Miz and Rey Mysterio, and then like right after that, the Miz and Rey Mysterio were going at it for a moment, and I was like, okay, that's a good match. I think Dominic's he's a young kid. He's green. And because
Look,
he's Rey Mysterio's
I'm gonna
son.
ask you. I'm gonna ask you a question, and I'm
Yeah.
curious about this. And I'll tell you my opinion after, because I don't want to influence yours. Do you think that Dominic should be in NXT instead of WWE?
Yeah, I think he should be in NXT, and I think he should be wearing a mask that covers an entire face, not in any way, shape, or form like Mysterio at all. They shouldn't bring that up at all. It should have just been, hey, this is another lucha libre in a mask, nothing like that. And then down the line, then he could have come out like they. It just seems that they want to the WWE is trying to bust their nut too quick, just like whenever Miz took down Logan Paul at the end of the match. I was like, well, couldn't they have done that like in celebration, like on the Monday afterwards? Because don't they usually have like the big show, and they could have brought them both out, and maybe it'd be too much to get Logan Paul back again. But
Yeah. See, I think that they WWE maybe didn't negotiate the right way with Logan Paul, or maybe the problem is that Logan Paul's timing wouldn't work,
yeah,
which is understandable. Where you
yeah.
got to set up backlash
Or
with
maybe he
Logan
just
Paul and
wants
the
too
Miz.
much fucking money. Maybe he's a greedy fuck. Like,
That could be it too, but I'm giving Logan Paul the benefit of the doubt. But my opinion is that
you would,
Dominic.
you would. No, I'm joking.
Yeah, right. I totally would. I'm
You
guilty as
would,
fuck.
star sucker.
Yeah. I'm totally sucking stars right there. We're gonna leave it at that because I already burned one sponsor. So
Oh my gosh, my bad, bro. See, I told you. Stick with me, kid. You'll go nowhere.
do I give a fuck? Probably not. So
Seems like you just did. I'm probably already burned one sponsor. No, I'm joking, man.
see, I didn't say you burned the sponsor. I said I burned the sponsor.
You
Clearly.
did. I know, but that is like, watch yourself, Keen. I've already fucked up once, man.
No.
Uh,
I have enough sponsors that I've burned. I have enough enemies that at this stage, if I never ever get another sponsor again, I am probably fine with this because I'm gonna do my
yeah,
show anyway, and I think that I'm gonna make millions because you know what is I convert, and that's all that fucking matters. I
yeah,
bring money to my clients, and you know what is if you're a sponsor of mine, and I'm gonna be very honest, you know what you're signing up for.
right.
Everybody's an adult, and who gives a shit what somebody says if they're making you money? At the end of the day, that's how I feel. But I definitely feel
You
that
should.
Dominic should be in NXT. I
Yeah,
think,
I think that he shouldn't have. Like I said, I think he should be wearing a mask, and where you can. He doesn't have to wear a mask his entire career, but just to get the not the stink, but the Rey Mysterio son. I mean, that shit doesn't go over well. I mean, the only reason like the Randy Orton, the Bob Orton thing went over well is because Randy Orton was so damn good, and it seemed like there was such an age gap. Like Bob Orton was like 95 years old when Randy Orton came out on the scene,
I don't even think, I also think it's the idea that Randy Orton worked his ass off.
and Bob Orton also wasn't that big. Wasn't like a mainstay of like the modern wrestling area. Rey Mysterio just came out.
So Bob Orton, and even I think Bob Orton's father, Randy Orton's grandfather, were
Mm-hmm.
like legends in wrestling. And
Mm-hmm.
so one of the things is that people were saying, "Oh, this is Randy Randy Orton is so and so's kid," and people referred Bob Orton as like a god in wrestling. Now, it's the idea that when you speak about Randy Orton, there's so much legacy where Randy Orton talks about wrestlers staying at his house. And
Yeah.
Randy Orton was destined to become a wrestler. There
Yeah.
was no other career for Randy Orton. And clearly it was the right career for Randy Orton because Randy Orton is that damn good.
Mm-hmm.
Now, one of the things about Bob Orton that was amazing is that with Randy was entering a stage, and it felt that Bob Orton was assisting his son in committing a fraud and being the bad guys. Especially with Undertaker coming out of
Yeah.
Evolution. So it
Mm-hmm.
seemed that it was an uneven match with Undertaker and that Bob Orton was helping his son and people loved Bob Orton as a legacy wrestler. But it didn't feel that Bob Orton was pulling a favor for Randy. With Ray,
Right.
it feels Dominic is Ray's pulling the favor for Dominic. And
Mm-hmm.
that's the problem. Right now, what I think needs to happen is that Ray and Dominic need to have a match with each other to get Dominic out of the Mysterio family per se and go out on his own and become a singles wrestler. And I think that's going to be Ray's retirement match.
I thought he was already. I thought was already retired before. I don't know, man. He is fucking.
Well,
He's like. He's older than me, dude. Sheesh. He should not be wrestling.
hey, you know what? I don't know. It's
Yeah.
complicated, but the big takeaway is that basically the Miz hit Logan Paul with the skull crushing finale, and now we're getting Logan Paul versus Miz.
Yeah, yay. And it's going to be another. So it's going to be a thing where The Miz basically carries the entire. The promo battle up and in between the pay-per-views. So we'll see what happens there.
I mean, look, it's making the Miz a fuck ton of money. Let's not pretend here.
And the Miz is that's the thing. The Miz has proven just like he did starting out when going against John. He talked about John Cena for like 2 months while John Cena was away, and then he just basically got himself into the match.
Oh my God, Maurice and him on Nikki Bella and John Cena. Every word of that was fucking true.
Mm-hmm.
Every fucking word, which is crazy. It's insane.
He knows how to push buttons. That's how you get views. Like shit, the guy understands how to do it completely.
Oh my god, I should push
Completely.
people's buttons.
Who's next on the match?
Yeah. Who is next? It was the Becky Lynch and Bianca Belair match.
The man who's not called the man anymore.
She's like called like Big Time Bex now.
Big Time Bex, which is stupid. Why would you get the nickname the man for a woman? It's just the best thing fucking ever.
She's like, I'm the man.
Still, your moves are like based on the man thing.
Oh my god! What a brilliant
In the promo, she said, "I was the man before you came around." Like I was watching like I thought she was fucking Becky Lynch thing or whatever.
So I like the fact that she's acting like she has a dick. Like I love it, and I don't know why, but I think it's brilliant. She's like, I'm the man around here. I'm carrying this fucking company.
I'm not a psychiatrist, bro. I can't tell you why you enjoy the thought of her having a penis.
No. It's not the fact that I enjoy her having a dick. It's the fact that like she's like, I'm the fucking provider in this company. I'm carrying this company. I'm taking care of this family. It's that idea, because how many times do you have a woman come and saying, look, I'm the fucking superstar. I'm the money maker here, because she is the fucking one of the money makers in WWE.
Isn't she with Seth Rollins though?
She's with Seth Rollins, but I guarantee you that actually they're both making a fuck ton of money.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure. Yeah, I'm pretty sure they're both making a fuck ton of money. But I mean,
she's probably making more than he is, if you think about it.
I don't know. Let's not talk about him, because then we're jumping ahead, and I can go. I got a whole other problem.
If my wife makes more money than me, I am comfortable in my manhood that she can go do that.
You're totally okay with her having a penis as well, so I can.
No. A metaphoric one.
I'm okay if my wife has a penis and makes more money. No, I'm joking. I'm so joking.
Metaphorically, the idea though is that she's acting like she's got a dick, and it's great, and I love the entire concept.
I thought her character as the man. That's why I was up when they said like what. I was like, what's up with this stupid name change? I thought she was the man. That's a great, like, the fact it's almost like Hulk Hogan getting rid of the Hulk Hogan thing. Don't get rid of it till you find a Hollywood Hogan vibe. Okay, this new name isn't a Hollywood Hogan vibe, girl. I'm sorry.
It's a downgrade. It's not an upgrade.
Yeah, I know. And now she's all like she's upset that she can't, the fans don't love her anymore. Well,
oh shit.
You're right. You know what? You're right. You're not the man anymore, then, Becky. You're right.
She should go back to saying, look, I signed a $1 million+ deal with WWE for the next 3 years. I'm the person, and I'm the man, and I'm the superstar that is carrying this. Where's John Cena? Roman Reigns is slaying dragons over on SmackDown. Who gives a fuck about Roman Reigns? I'm the person, and I'm the superstar who carried this company for the last 3 years before I decided to have a baby. And I chose to have a baby because I can make that decision as a fucking boss. That's what she needs to take. And said, I chose to have a kid. And I take my kid on a bus with me every fucking Raw or SmackDown I'm at, because I make that decision. And Bianca, you can't make those decisions. You're not willing to make those decisions. And that is what separates us from me from you. And that's a fucking promo.
Does Bianca have a kid?
No, Bianca I don't think has a kid yet.
So that'd be, of course, she doesn't need to make that decision yet.
No. What that would get her back to being the man. Because if that's the whole thing, and then all of a sudden, if she said, I don't give a fuck if you boo me, she doesn't have to say the word fuck, but she says, I'm making the decisions that keeps this company afloat. That means that you, as fans, get to see every other match on the card because of me. That's what Becky Lynch needs to do, and she was not that tonight.
She should have changed her name to Karen. Because, I mean, she's no longer Becky with the good hair. So, although I was digging the old orange mullet, it was kind of dope. I was like, that's kind of the shit there, Becky.
I liked her gala dress. I'm not going to lie.
I did not enjoy that, and she kept it on for a super long time. I was like, when is she? Is she? I'd be impressed if she would have kept it on to wrestle in it, because she left it on for a very long time. I mean, homegirl, Bianca was already ready to go. All everything, the
Do you
bell is
think
rung.
Mr. Keenan Cornett, um,
Yeah.
do you think that her $1 million contract is worth $1 million right now with the way she acted tonight?
I mean, yeah. I mean, if yeah, I would say what I say is yeah, I mean it's worth it because she's already signed it, and so they're already getting paid. So I mean, there's nothing you could do. That's the way I look at it. But because of her performance, no, she's probably not worth what she was paid tonight. Probably not. And okay, real quick, yeah, no, she's not worth it because two of my major malfunctions with that match was the camera angle switching when they were literally uh throwing punches in the corner of the ring, and they're changing the angles from side to side. I was like, are they not throwing the punches look real or not? Like they're not. This isn't a big fucking maneuver here, guys. We should have to do a quick angle back and forth. And then twice during the match, I saw her literally tell Bianca like what we're gonna do. I don't know. Bianca's just deaf and maybe dumb, and she doesn't know how to wrestle yet or something. But like I literally said, like whisper in her ear, and I get that they talk to each other, but and sometimes you catch a glimpse. I even saw Stone Cold say something to Kevin Owens. I mean, you catch glimpses, but you could really catch. She was like, psh, 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 like very big in the air, and I'm not a fan of that. Like I at least when I look at it, like I think kids should think that it's real. Like, and I think that they
There were issues with the match, without a doubt. Um, I think that even the start of the match, how it started out, like it was felt rushed, and it felt like they were going for fucking like end game plays, where
yeah
it almost was a reverse match where the match started out and it was like every finisher was about to be hit, and then they had for the next 15 minutes a normal match after that. So the first
yeah.
2 minutes was like how many finishers and how much heat can we draw, and every fast play it's like you got 3 minutes.
Shit. I wish I would have thought about it during the damn show. I should have counted up the missed finishes because I don't think I've seen more missed finishes in a show in my entire life.
And look, I thought they're wrestling, and as far as an entertaining match, that was one fucking hell of a match.
No, it was a very good match. I just didn't like that, and that's the worst part is I had nothing bad to say about the match other than what I just told you. The camera, the angle changes, and her you
See,
could almost telegraphing the punches and
yeah,
everything.
see, my problem is that I used to believe Becky as a superstar, and I think that she's very believable. When she acted like the man, and this is what I mean by when I say what I said, because I know you're gonna make fun of me. It's all right. I know a bunch of people watching are gonna make fun of me. It's all right. A bunch of my friends who are gonna see this tomorrow are gonna make fun of me for saying that, and I'm sure it's gonna come up in another stream at some point. But the idea is that when she acted like a guy, and she acted like saying like I'm willing to whip out my dick and I don't give a fuck, like she was believable, and that's the whole problem. And Bianca, I don't feel is believable. I feel like Bianca's the greatest. Bianca's representation, and I'm gonna call it like I see it. And I'm like, that's all fine and dandy, but I don't find Bianca Belair believable. I don't find her trustworthy as a champ. I don't view her. She says I'm the roughest, toughest, luckiest, whatever she wants to put as the EST behind her name. Like I don't
Yeah,
buy that. Like, I don't view you as a fucking fighter. And
she comes
maybe
off as a val. I mean, I've literally only seen her twice, and I think it was the last time I watched a pay per view. But she comes off very Valley Girl.
prestigious.
And real
Prestigious
quick,
is a good way.
is Becky not believable as the man anymore because now she's a mommy and there's not a penis underneath there?
No, it's not that. It's
That was a great joke. No,
that's a great joke.
yeah, go
That's
ahead,
so
go ahead.
true.
That wasn't me making fun of you. It was just me.
We know she's a woman now.
Yeah, now that she's a mommy, we know she's a woman. There's no second guessing her.
It's kind of like
No.
when I saw Tom Cruise in a fudge factory packing fudge, but that's not the point. That's a
That's
great
what
joke
happened.
too.
That's what happens.
Just
But
because Tom Cruise was putting the fudge in a package means that he's a fudge packer. So that's all I'm gonna
he
say.
would have been a great Willy Wonka. Speaking of which, like, could you imagine him instead of Johnny Depp as Willy Wonka? That'd have been so fucking good.
Let
So
me
good.
explain the problem with that position. He would have to renounce his Scientology card.
Why? It's a fictional story. It's not. There's nothing about God and Willy Wonka, is there? Am I
It's
mistaken?
fudge packing, clearly. If you work in a
Well,
chocolate
yeah, but
factory,
then, but
yeah.
it's not
You
literal fudge packing. You don't watch an Oompa Loompa fucking another Oompa Loompa, buddy.
Oh,
They
I
get
mean,
all.
I don't know what you're talking about. Clearly, I was just talking about putting the fudge in a package and shipping out to your customers. I don't know what you're talking about. Like,
You're talking about your thoughts of Becky Lynch as the man.
I'm just saying. I mean, I'm talking metaphorically. I don't know what
I know
you're
you
in your
are. I know
mind.
you
I
are. I'm
mean,
just messing with you. I'm messing with you. So what was it? So what was the what was the next match? I'm not a fan of Bianca Blair. I don't like the whole
no, it's like
swinging her
she
hair and
see
shit.
you said it perfectly. Where she seems so Valley Girl like, and she does not seem like a champion. And like, I don't get this big hype where it's like it's a magical moment, and she won last year at WrestleMania the championship, and like and I get it. I'm white, and I get it that she's black. But that's not how I view it. And I'm gonna openly say where I'm like. I don't think she's that good as a wrestler. Like I think Sasha Banks is amazing.
Oh
I think
yeah,
I
yeah.
think
She's definitely
Naomi
way better.
Naomi is fantastic.
But how long
Like
has Bianca Blair been in the business? 'Cause I think I've only heard about her like maybe for about.
she was in NXT for a while, and then she was brought up. But like I think that maybe 4 years,
But
and
she comes off as the type that wasn't.
I'm pulling
Uh,
up right now for everybody. She came into NXT in 2016. So she's been around for about 6 years in
she comes
wrestling.
off as more of the pretty girl, one of the pretty girls that they taught how to wrestle instead of one of the wrestling girls that are also pretty. You know what
Yeah.
I'm saying there? That she was pretty and she couldn't figure out something to do that was famousy, and they like, well, I could go be a wrestler, and so like, hey, we could take a pretty girl. Let's do this.
So she comes off almost like Carmella.
Yeah, yeah.
Sasha Banks is very attractive, but Sasha Banks can wrestle.
She started out. That's what I mean. Like she's a wrestling fan that was also pretty. She wasn't a pretty girl that they taught how to wrestle.
S-
Bianca seems like a pretty girl they taught how to wrestle.
Yeah, and that's my whole thing.
No.
Carmella was a dancer and a cheerleader who then became a wrestler.
And it
And that doesn't
seems
mean
like that's where a lot of them, a lot of the women wrestlers lack is when they take a pretty girl and teach them how to wrestle instead of a wrestling fan that's also pretty.
like Natalia knows how to wrestle.
Yes, she is a great fucking wrestler. Like
Beth Phoenix knows how to wrestle.
Charlotte Flair knows how to wrestle, and she showed tonight. And what's her name?
Ronda Rousey.
Yeah, Rousey. She's come along as a wrestler as well.
Ronda Rousey obviously is very attractive, but she was a fucking MMA fighter and she learned
Yeah,
how to wrestle. Now,
yeah.
Ronda Rousey, unbelievably, and we could talk about that match, even though it's out of order, because I think it makes
Oh.
sense. Ronda Rousey learned how to wrestle, but going from MMA into WWE is not that fucking hard.
Yeah, that's what I was saying. That's that. Yeah, I understand there, and that's not saying but Ronda Rousey is definitely not as pretty as a Charlotte Flair or Sasha Banks, and I'm just stating absolute fact. I'm not taking anything away from her, but
If this was a fight And they were in an octagon. Ronda Rousey would knock the shit out of Sasha and Charlotte at the
Oh,
same time.
yeah,
Undeniable.
yeah. I'm not. Yeah, and let's call a spade, bro. Ronda Rousey is a legit fighter. No matter how tough Charlotte Flair is, Ronda Rousey would wipe the fucking floor with her, no matter
She
what.
she might not do it as quickly as she would like to.
I'm almost positive she would. Ronda Rousey is a beat the shit out of you type person, and Charlotte Flair is a wrestler. She was taught how to wrestle. Yeah, she might be able to hold her own with a regular type woman in a everyday type situation, but in a wrestling ring, they're pretty well equally matched.
Because the difference in a wrestling ring and the thing about WWE, and we're going to call a spade, is that this is entertainment. So you're not going to have the same positioning, because you have to understand that it's
Yeah,
all quote unquote predetermined, and you have to entertain. And
exactly. And Ronda is also like a good entertainer. That's why it was an easy. Sometimes it's not an easy transition. We've seen wrestlers that haven't been able to or MMA fighters that haven't been able to transition. I think Tank Abbott made a terrible transition at one point. I'm just saying, like, there's been terrible transitions back and forth. I think Ronda Rousey just, as some entertainment people can come from the entertainment side and be a wrestler as well. Some MMA people can come and also be a wrestler as well.
it's kind of like
Yeah.
stand-up comics. Some stand-up comics can become very good actors, and they know how to do things, and
Mm-hmm.
others cannot act for shit.
Mm-hmm. Yep. I agree. You were right. You were right. But so we were talking about the Rousey fight right now with Charlotte Flair, or we just
Yeah, we're talking about it
all right, because I thought that I think that might have been my vote for the best match of the night, Rousey versus Flair,
I
and
don't
that's
know
a
about
lot
that.
coming
I,
from me. What?
I disagree.
Why would what would you be? All right, well, I guess we'll come. You come tell me your best match once we get there. I guess.
So no. We already got there. I think the
Oh.
Bianca and Becky was better than the Charlotte and Ronda.
Really, really? No, because I didn't see the choreographed. I didn't see them talking into each other's ears, and there weren't quick angle changes in it. Like they pretty much told the story and kept it pretty real. It seemed like on there. I didn't see the same stuff I saw in
I
the
thought
Bianca.
the athleticism, or whatever that word is,
It
because
wasn't that word, bro.
yeah,
Bro.
clearly.
Athletic,
It's all right.
athleticism.
I
No,
thought the actual match, and then the story that was being told, was better with Becky and Bianca. Where I thought with Charlotte and Ronda, I thought it was lacking. Like, I was less interested in the history, where all the hype that was Charlotte versus Ronda, I felt that it was a letdown. I really did, because we're talking about Charlotte has been known as sort of Ric Flair's daughter, and the superstar that's won all these titles and set the record 12 or 13 times, is the standard bearer of the next generation to surpass. Has
right,
and Trish Stratus, they quoted her saying she's like the best, and all of a sudden I'm like, well, we have Ronda coming in, and we got all this hype, and Ronda's like, you've never beat me, and it's all this shit. And I felt like the hype was over pushed on the match, which hurt it.
yeah,
And so I think that we needed to pull that back by about 10%. And then I think they would have had a better position. Like, the hype for Becky versus Bianca would delivered, where the hype was right where the match needed to be. And
right,
maybe it wasn't the match, maybe it was the collective for me, where it's like, this is going to be the fight of the night. This is the Royal Rumble winner Ronda Rousey coming to Charlotte Flair. We got all this hype for the next 2 months coming into this, and I'm like, what are we doing here? Because you're overhyping the match.
right.
It's kind of like the idea that if you say this is going to be a good fight and then the fight's phenomenal, well, now we have the expectation of good. And they were
Right.
positioning the entire thing throughout the entire position like, man, this is going to be the greatest women's match in history. And
Right.
I was like, this is a generation where we got the MMA fighter who dominated, and we have Charlotte Flair who dominated. And I'm like, well, it was a good fight and it was a good match, but you guys hyped it as the greatest.
Well, they hyped it. They hyped this entire WrestleMania as it was going to be the greatest. Like I was watching the pre-show.
It was going to be
Welcome to the greatest
stupendous.
WrestleMania. I'm like, dude,
Stupendous, Keaton. Stupendous.
whatever the fuck it is, it wasn't that. The fact that you have, nothing that I've seen on that card states that, and even the Roman Reigns Brock Lesnar fight out tomorrow night, I was just like, I'm not for sure.
It's stupendous.
It seems stupid. It's like
I didn't say that the stupendous starts with stew.
it's there. And who is that? That Corey Graves guy. If I met Corey Graves in real life, I would punch him in his fucking stomach. Just nothing that he just something rubbed me the wrong way about that guy.
Mr. Commentary, Corey Grave.
Yeah, just everything. Commentary, he acts like he's such a. And I just know, like, I'm like, dude, you are not a real wrestling fan.
Let's talk about Corey Graves.
You were too fucking cool to be a real wrestling fan, you lying motherfucker.
Corey Graves was a wrestler, and then he got concussed. My problem with Corey Graves is that, like, Pat McAfee, who is commentating, is having a good fucking time. Like, when Shinsuke Nakamura came out and Rick Boggs was playing his guitar, Pat McAfee jumps up on the announce table and just starts dancing. And I think it's hilarious. And Pat McAfee doesn't give a flying fuck. You know why Pat McAfee doesn't give a fuck? Because he has a fucking podcast. He was a fucking NFL punter. And he's just worth, like, legitimately tens of millions of dollars. And he doesn't need WWE's money. He doesn't need it. And
he's in a fight tomorrow night, right? Like, and then I see that, I was like, what the fuck?
But he wants to be in the fight.
No, I understand that he wants to be.
And that's the difference, right? Like, we're doing this right now because we want to do it. I don't care if this issue, if I get a call from someone, we don't like you, Andrew, you're speaking to Keenan. I'm like, well, that's your problem as a sponsor. I interview people who I want to interview, right? And if somebody doesn't like that, well, that's their fucking problem. You know, and look, people tell me all the time, say, no, I have an issue with so person. I'm like, okay, I don't. That's your problem, right? So that's my thing about, like, Pat McAfee. When he's on commentary, I think he enjoys what he does. And with Corey Graves, I think Corey Graves doesn't not enjoy what he does, but I also think he has to he understands that, look, this is also my job, where this is how I pay my living, and I'm a commentator. I'm backstage.
But he just comes off like he was never a fan of wrestling. Like, it was just like again, like, you know, a handsome dude that was like, "Fuck it, I'm gonna try this wrestling thing out real quick." You know, like Goldberg or some shit. Goldberg didn't. He was like, "I never wanted to be a wrestler." I don't know. That's just the way. And that's just I literally I didn't even know he was a fucking wrestler, bro. Like, I'm being like, so this is just how the guy comes off to me, just off air, just. Whatever.
But that's important, right? See, this raises a question about WWE, right? Is that does WWE really know how it's perceived to somebody who is not an educated wrestling fan, right? And there's plenty of it, because Corey Graves was in NXT, and then he got concussed, and then he got an NXT gig because he was a good wrestler, and they thought he was talented, and he's proved his worth. But that's the whole thing, is that does WWE really know how he's perceived? And this is a great question, because I don't not like Corey Graves, but again, I don't watch Monday Night Raw. I don't watch SmackDown. I'll watch SmackDown and Raw maybe 4 times a year.
Right.
I'll watch NXT maybe 6 times a year, because on Monday nights I'm writing for my interview show. On Tuesdays, I'm interviewing. On Wednesdays, I'm interviewing. And on Thursdays, I'm either interviewing or getting fucking hammered or watching indie wrestling, which is not WWE. Then I'll watch a pay-per-view, and I'll watch a recap of what the fuck happened, or I'll read about it in a 5-minute article the next day on Monday Night Raw. And if something significant happened, I'll watch the replay of it on YouTube in a highlighted clip.
Yeah, I
But
understand.
but I mean, I thought the Charlotte Flair and Ronda Rousey match was great. I thought the fact that the ref got knocked out and Charlotte tapped was great because
Yeah,
I thought it protected Ronda. I thought that it was the right call for Charlotte because let's be realistic. I don't think Ronda Rousey, when she was the Raw Women's Champion, was a great champion like 18 months ago, and I don't think Ronda should ever be champ again.
really.
I don't think she's a good champion. I don't think that she's believable, and I think she creates a bigger problem for WWE collectively. And that problem is that great, you label her the baddest woman on the planet.
Yeah,
How the fuck do you overcome that? Who beats her?
right. It's almost unbeatable. And I'm my biggest thing with the WWE is I like a heel being champion, having the good guys chase him. WWE isn't a huge fan of that. They're kind of coming to that now that they have Roman Reigns and Brock Lesnar as their champions and stuff like that. But I like the heel as the champion. So if somebody like Charlotte Flair could be the champion and constantly dealing with a Ronda Rousey, and Ronda Rousey being a tough little woman and beating the shit out of her all the time, but Charlotte Flair just being a better in-ring technician, just knowing the sport better.
Or conversely, Charlotte Flair knowing every little trick where
Right.
championship advantage, you know, where backlash, Ronda Rousey versus Charlotte Flair, all of a sudden Ron, Ronda Rousey beats the shit out of Charlotte. It's a no holds bar match, but there's a count out and she beats her to a pulp. But guess what? She fucking knocks her out and then there's a 10 count while she's out of the ring. So Ronda destroys Charlotte, wins the match, but loses the match.
And I think Ronda Rousey and the Charlotte Flair are almost like an American Dream and a Nature Boy. Like that's a pretty good little matchup. They could build a pretty good program off of those two ladies
The the
and just
the
going back
way
and
I
forth.
the way I see Charlotte Flair and Ronda going is that it has to end at Hell in a Cell. There's no other way it can end because they put Ronda and Charlotte in Hell in a Cell. They beat the shit out of each other, and then Ronda wins the title. After essentially we're in April, so Hell in a Cell would be either September or October. So 6 months chasing the belt.
And
I think
that'd be the only way that she could beat Charlotte Flair,
because
and
there's
because
nowhere to
that'd be a
run.
non-technical way.
There's nowhere to run.
Yeah, nowhere to
And
run. It's a non-technical match. It's basically just beat the shit out of each other and see who wins.
and
So
so my whole thing is that though that whenever you label somebody as being the baddest woman on the planet, that's where I get really annoyed because it's like, okay, now who beats Ronda? Like, because whoever beats her has to either be the most cunning or
the
has to
man
catch
could do it. The man could do it,
exactly right.
but not this blitzing Becky Lynch bitch or something. But the man could do it.
Or it has to be Money in the Bank where somebody cashes in on Ronda getting the shit kicked out of her in Hell in a Cell and they get
Yeah,
the belt off of her.
yeah.
And that's my whole problem is that you almost pigeon where you solve a temporary problem, but that's the problem with Roman Reigns right now is who the fuck is going to beat Roman Reigns in reality?
They need to. I've only known what's been going on with Roman Reigns and his whole saga as like from the outside looking in. Never been a huge fan. Never, see him on pay-per-views and
He's
stuff.
finally coming into his own where his first four title runs were shit. This run with the belt is brilliant because he's finally getting his fucking character development and he's
Yeah.
a fucking heel, but he's an honest heel.
Do,
That's why this is great.
do
He's
you
saying,
think that has something to do with Paul Heyman?
oh, without a doubt.
So maybe it's not really. Roman Reigns is doing anything for this title run, but it's Paul Heyman that's making this title run worthwhile.
I think Paul Heyman is providing guidance where when Roman Reigns says you're all doing missionary. I'm just telling you where he said about John Cena. It's all missionary guys.
Yeah,
Everybody got what he was doing and it made sense. And instead of booing, people weren't happy with it, but guess what? They're like, John Cena is missionary, guys. It's generic. This
right.
is boring. And he called something what it was. And it was brilliant because, and that's my whole problem with Ronda, is that once you get the belt on Ronda, how do you get the belt off of her in 6 months? Because you can't, or 9 months, or a year. You can't have a 5-year title run with Ronda. You just
I could
can't.
get that belt off of her in seconds. No
I know.
offense. My bad.
No, 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 no. You're the best, man. You're the
My
best. I
bad.
have no doubt about it.
My bad. Yeah, I'm just I got the way with the ladies. Ronda Rousey couldn't keep that belt on her pretty little
Right now,
back.
you have a Batman tattoo, so I
I
really
do.
can't. No, no, you can say whatever the fuck you want on my show. I don't care.
I
Again,
do. I do. She wouldn't be able to resist the Batman tattoo. And after we were done, I would ask her, "How was sex with Batman?"
in a deep, very, very, very sexual
It's very
voice.
hard to say that without laughing. Like it's very like. So how was sex with Batman? And then like hearing the woman's voice, like
Oh,
it's just
Bruce.
it's a very funny way to end a sexual rendezvous. And it's great when they realize like it's not the first time you said that because it's just such a stupid fucking joke. How many women have you said that to, Keenan? No one before ever. Not that guy.
That's not what I said after my first time. So clearly,
Dude, after like this has nothing to do with, but literally after my first time having sex, I remember going to the restroom afterward and like looking at myself in the mirror and giving myself like a high five. Like you just did it, bro.
oh, I did
You
something
got you
completely
got this
different.
done, man. You did this, man.
I had her sitting on my lap, and I called somebody. I'm like, "Hey, man, how are you? I just had sex for the first time." And then I put her on the phone and she told my.
I was just happy having a moment with myself in the bathroom, man. It was just a
I
nice
didn't have a
little.
moment. I had a moment with one of my best friends instead.
There you go, man. I had a moment with one of my best friends too, myself. Me,
No,
myself,
no,
and
no, no.
I had a
Legitly,
moment.
legitly. Afterwards, it was all good, and I'm like, "Oh man, that's really good." And then I had her sitting on my lap with like my underwear on, and I called up my friend, and then I had her sitting in my lap, and it was great. And I was like, just like sort of just like feeling her up. It was wonderful. It was a great time, and yeah. And then I put her on the phone, and my friend was like, "Well, lucky you." And I made sure to call the right friend who would know how to handle it. So
Right, right. I
I
understand that.
talk about power plays.
Right.
We were in a relationship for like 3 months. It was great. It
There
was
you go.
wonderful. It was fantastic. And then
Happy times. Happy times.
things changed, but I knew I was in full control on the called power plays, and I liked them. But anyway, talk about power plays. Let's talk about Burn It Down with some Seth Rollins and some Cody Rhodes because that was cool.
And whenever, because I had heard, because I listened to the Jim Cornette podcast, I heard Cody Rhodes was coming back to WWE, which I thought he didn't he have a piece of AEW or was like a boss or something or
He was almost a founder, but he was like an executive vice president. Let me ask you your opinion before we break down this match.
yeah.
If somebody says you're an executive vice president of something, but then all of a sudden you don't have creative control of your character, you don't have booking control, or your boss takes more power away from you, doesn't that mean that you're just an executive vice president in name and maybe payment, but not really in power?
Yeah, and see that's the thing. Like I thought he had a whole falling out with WWE. Like I didn't really know the whole story with when he left WWE. I just
My
knew that
my my
he was starting
understanding
up.
my understanding is that Double or Nothing, he took a gigantic sledgehammer to a throne.
Yep.
That was a reference to Triple H.
Yep.
So what I don't get is clearly Triple H was not the decision maker in this. Cody Rhodes is not answering to Triple H right now.
No, and I didn't think that. I mean,
Unless Triple H thinks it's funny, which he
nothing
might.
against Cody Rhodes. I mean, he's an okay talent and everything, but he never came off as like, oh, this is gonna be the next big star. And then he went to AEW, and I was still like, oh, and he had a great first match with him and his brother. That first match he had in AEW on Double or Nothing was amazing. After that, I really didn't give a shit.
See, this is my take. I thought Cody Rhodes was great in AEW, but I also thought that he was. I think that he's not a great booker right now. I don't think he has the experience. Dusty Rhodes was an amazing booker.
Mm-hmm.
Like Dusty Rhodes was a good wrestler and maybe even a great wrestler, but not a superstar, not a John Cena, not a Roman Reigns per se,
Yeah.
not a Randy Orton, not a Triple H, not a Batista, not a Ric Flair.
Mm-hmm.
Not a Seth Rollins. I throw Seth Rollins in there because Seth Rollins is a genius. Kevin Owens is a genius in a lot of ways as well. With what Kevin Owens has done on the Indies is unbelievable. But
Yeah.
the idea, you could argue that Drew McIntyre is great as well. But the whole thing is that Cody Rhodes is an okay booker, and I think that's where this got all fucked up. Is
Right.
that with AEW is that he wasn't booking great positions, but there was all these wrestlers who came to AEW because of Cody Rhodes.
Mm-hmm.
So like I don't know where that puts people in AEW. Like that's where I'm confused on this entire thing because I don't think Cody Rhodes being back in WWE is significant enough where I'm sure he's getting paid at least $2 to $3 million over the next 2 or 3 years. Easy. I
Yeah.
think which is a smart move because well, you now have somebody who just worked for AEW, built the conceptual of AEW, now working for you. If I'm a business, that's a
Yeah.
brilliant play.
I did like how they talked about what Cody's been doing this entire time on the broadcasters like, oh, he's been gone, and just kind of weaved around trying to go around the AEW situation and not I don't know. And
What
at
was
one point,
interesting is that Cody Rhodes' song from AEW followed him into WWE. So I don't know the full extent of that. His entrance was AEW's entrance. So clearly, Cody, I think, owns his trademark with
yeah,
WWE. So I don't think WWE owns the name Cody Rhodes anymore because I'm pretty sure he owns that, unless part of the deal is that maybe he's making 4 or 5 million, and WWE gets the trademark
right.
and gets the music rights and gets all the shit that Cody owns. Which you know what is? Given that Cody is getting older, maybe it's not such a bad move for Cody.
Yeah, because it really, I mean,
If
can't
Cody's
take it
making
with you.
if Cody's making 5 million in the next 2 to 3 years, it's not a bad move.
Right.
And if he knows that he's gonna end and not continue past 38, and I think Cody's like,
Yeah.
I'll tell you how old Cody is right now. This is actually very significant.
What I
So,
wouldn't give for Cody to get fat. Like, I would love to see a real American Dream Cody Rhodes, or even
so,
if Dusty would have gotten, or Dustin.
let's say that Cody Rhodes signed a $5 million deal for 3 years. That means that when he's 38, or no, he's 36 right now. He'll be 39 when his deal ends at WrestleMania around this time. Then all of a sudden, maybe it's not such a bad move because maybe he says, look, when I'm 40, maybe I don't want to do this for the rest of my life. And maybe I
They
want one last payday.
Everybody's wrestling until they're fucking 80 now, man. Like shit. The match that I'm most excited about tomorrow is Edge and AJ Styles. They're both fucking 90 years old, man. Like shit. I was sitting there, I'm like fucking Edge looks like me at the moment with his fucking gray beard and shit.
Hey, don't be speaking about Edge that way.
What is like? I'm not like we can talk about our own, bro. What can I not talk about the any of the bald headed people and like can I not talk shit about Hulk Hogan? My head's bald, bro. I can talk shit about some Hulk Hogan if I want to.
You talk about whatever you want to talk about.
I'm talking
Show's
about
not.
in general. But no,
The
I
show.
mean
The show is a free speech zone.
free
So,
speech zone, free speech zone.
so what do you think
But
about her?
but nice, nice,
That's actually Miss Sorrow, WWE. Some Betty
nice.
Page, classic Betty Page. And then this is our girl right here, some Ronda Rousey.
Ronda Rousey, rowdy Ronda Rousey, which I don't like that. And then like,
And this
why
is
did
some
she
some
get
some
the
sexy Lauren Phillips.
Lauren Phillips?
Oh man, I want an interview with her.
I bet you do.
These are weird tobacco cards, which are super cool.
Where'd you get them from?
I got them off of eBay, but I don't even know their story about like how they were created or why they were created or even like the conception of them. But
Yeah,
they're dealing with Millhouse tobacco products, Kentucky grown, cut and cured, never bitter, with a smooth southern flavor that lasts a long time.
is that from Canada or Europe or some shit?
It's Kentucky.
Yeah, but that's not an. I mean, we wouldn't. WWE would not put pictures of their shit in American tobacco products. Like, there's no way.
That's the thing. I don't know the deal with it. Where I don't know how these people came into it because there's only two WWE superstars on this, and
Yeah.
there's some other stuff going on. But like Mila Kunis has like some of this stuff, and like I'm like, did these people just buy these images of all these superstars and then put it into tobacco products? It's kind of cool.
Yeah, it is kind of cool. Maybe
They're not even
some.
that expensive. They're like $3 and like 50 cents for each one of those cards,
Sheesh.
and it's free shipping. And I'm gonna be buying like all these fucking tobacco cards. Like I'm super into it. But I digress. Continue.
Digress. Cody Rhodes, Cody Rhodes, Cody Rhodes,
Yeah,
and
no.
Seth
I loved the
Rollins.
match, man. Like I loved the fucking match. Like I thought the match was great.
I thought the match was good too, but there was a shit ton of finishes in this match as well. Like, what do you gotta do to win a match? Why do we even call them finishes anymore? There's no point to it. He literally had to do 3 of his finishers plus his dad's little punch and move, finesse
The
move.
bionic elbow, Keenan. The bionic elbow.
Yeah,
It's
that's
legend.
that. He had to do the finesse bionic elbow, and then his finisher again for a 4th time, which all in all, I guess that made about 6 times for his finisher just to get the win.
It's Seth freaking Rollins. If it was Seth Rollins, 4 finishers at max, but the freaking adds 2.
It is.
I'm being
Yeah,
facetious for a reason.
I know you're being, but I'm just saying, like
No,
it's like
I
they're
I
legit
think
superheroes.
the first 5 minutes was like Cody Rhodes is in WWE. I guess it's true. This is awesome, right?
Yeah,
We sort of this is the way I viewed it is that I'm like this seems like it's gonna happen, but it could not happen, right?
yeah,
In which that it was very open. Where I'm like, I think there's like a 50% chance Cody can come back, but the only reason why Cody would come back is for the money. Let's call a spade here, because
yeah.
if WWE says we're going to offer you what AEW wasn't going to offer you for the same deal, no worries, right? It
Right.
makes sense. And because you could always go back to AEW afterwards, you could always go to TNA, you could always go back to the Indies. There's a million plays you could do, or you can
And
finish it.
what
Yeah.
if this is a thing, kind of like an Eric Bischoff move, trying to like, hey, if we send you up to WWE, they'll pump you up a little bit more, and then when you get done there, you can come back over here and you're good.
I
Some shit like that.
I mean, I have a friend, August Gray, also known as Anthony Green, spent 10 months in AEW. I'm not AEW, WWE, has August Gray in the
Mm-hmm.
cruiserweight. You know what happened? Is that his rate on the indies went up by $100 a night on matches. So now, if he has 4 matches in a week, that's an extra $400.
Mm-hmm.
It might not seem like a lot of money where you're like, oh, Andrew's only $100, or it might be $200. I don't know his exactly rate, but his rate changed significantly. Where if all of a sudden his rate went up by $200 because he's a former WWE superstar,
Mm-hmm.
well, that's an extra $800. That's an extra, 816. That's an extra 3,200 a month, and well, 3,200 times 12. I think we get the idea here. All of a sudden, you're pulling in maybe an extra 40,000 a year.
Yeah, and it
These,
all depends on
I
if you're
mean,
married, if you're single, if you are cheap as shit and you can just save all
also,
that money you make.
it's the idea that Anthony Green has a girlfriend in wrestling, and all of a sudden now her rate probably has gone up because
Mm-hmm.
guess what? She's associated. So
Mm-hmm.
now, if she's a good wrestler, but all of a sudden she's going to be marrying him, and now they're on the same card. So,
Yep.
congratulations, her rate probably went up. Or if she's on that card, he gets on that card. Maybe there's a slight discount, but guess what?
Yep.
It's not a massive discount where there's more leveraging. And that's
And
the whole thing.
if you're traveling with your girl, you're splitting rooms. If you're traveling with your girl and like another couple or something, you can divide the room up even more. I mean, there's a lot of cheap ways that you get by and make and eke by a nice little living on being an indie wrestler nowadays.
I mean, I think he might. I think he might have moved back up to Massachusetts, and if he's just staying in the Massachusetts circuit, if it's a 2-hour drive, he doesn't give a
Yeah.
fuck. So
Yeah.
the point that I'm trying to make is that all of a sudden, though, and my rates on my show just have risen up because of my podcast,
Yeah.
where my live reads were 15, they are now 20 to 25 to advertise on my show.
Right.
And that's because the Kickstarter. That's because I'm coming into podcast format, and I understand what I'm worth now. I also understand what I brought to a former client, and well, I'm sorry to everybody else, but things have changed naturally. So I'm charging $12 on my latest sponsor,
Right.
and I'm definitely going to be increasing my position. The only reason why that person got $12 is because they bought it in enough bulk and they
Right.
bought 10 episodes. So if you buy 10 episodes, it's $12. If you buy 3, it's 15. And
Right.
I'm going to be raising my rates to 20 because, well, I think I'm fucking worth it. I'm sorry to everybody else. But again, it's kind of like if I worked for WWE as an on screen commentator, of course
Mm-hmm.
my rates are going to go up because it's that clout. So I get Cody, and I think he's making real money with WWE because I
Mm-hmm.
don't think he would have gone to WWE if it wasn't real money.
Right.
And
I
he needed
understand
the win.
completely.
He needed the
Yeah.
win.
Yes, sir. All in all, I thought it was a pretty good match. What's Seth Rollins? What's his character that he's portraying now? I didn't get the gist of it from the vignettes and the little
I
thing.
don't I don't I don't really know what he's doing either. I think we all know Seth Rollins is a lifer. Roman Reigns and Seth Rollins are lifers in WWE,
Yeah.
meaning that they're never going to be fired unless they do something retarded, for lack of a better word.
Right.
Um, and the only reason why I use that word before anybody attacks me is because it's the simplest word to explain how they're going to get fired.
Right.
There's no other word that's going to explain how they're going to get fired.
Right.
And I think everybody understands that. Um, but beyond that, if Seth Rollins drops an F bomb on Raw, he's not going to get fired. If Seth Rollins drops the N word, he'll get fired. But
Right.
even still, he might not get fired. He might get a 30-day suspension at this point. If Seth Rollins kills somebody, Seth Rollins will get fired.
Right.
Like that's what I mean when I say the R word, for
But
lack of a
see,
better word.
speaking of because as you say, lifer Roman Reigns and Seth Rollins are kind of the same. And yes, Roman Reigns has changed from heel to good guy to back and forth, but his attire and like his basic character hasn't really changed. He's still Roman Reigns. He's still the big, tall, tough son of a bitch, whether he's a good guy or a bad guy. This motherfucker Seth Rollins changes his outfit, his persona. But like the last time I saw him, he was in all white, acting like he was like this Jesus freak character. And tonight he's in purple, looking like he's Rick James or James Brown or something. Like I'm trying to figure out what. Like I understand going like you go from heel to face to blah blah blah. You
No,
might
no,
change a little bit.
it's understandable that if you've been in wrestling for 10 years, your character is going to evolve. Roman Reigns used to be a lot more quiet. Roman
Yeah,
Reigns now has become a lot more vocal and a lot more blunt.
but he's
For,
still
for
pretty much wearing the same clothes though. That's what I'm saying. Like John Cena when he first got the John Cena "You Can't See Me" character and the rapper thing, he was
he was
very
an Eminem wannabe
exactly.
Boston,
But then
Boston
as he
style.
progressed, he was still kind of that wannabe, but he just stopped rapping as much and talk. But he still dressed the same. He still wear big colors, baggy clothes. The jorts never left.
He wears shorts. He doesn't wear trunks. John Cena.
But what I'm saying is, it's still basically the same. This dude, Seth Rollins, every year it's a completely new persona. I get it. Like the Hunter Hearst Helmsley started there. Then he went to Triple H. Then he went to the Game. That see what I'm saying? Like that's all pretty much a very slow progression. Not too much of his character change. This guy Seth Rollins and Becky Lynch seem to want to take on a completely new name or persona and just everything.
And also there's no story. When we look at a guy like Happy Corbin, right? So Baron Corbin used to be X, and then he became Baron Corbin, and then he became Poor Corbin, but then he hit it rich in a casino, and then he became Happy Corbin. But there's a story of why that happened. With Seth Rollins, we have no story of how Seth Rollins became, I'm Seth freaking Rollins, and I'm Mr. WrestleMania, and
Yeah,
I'm the guy who's carrying this company, which is cool, and saying, or I am the ultimate opportunist. I
right.
am the authority figure, and I'm the ultimate opportunist. And
Yeah,
Hunter, you fucked me over, and I want revenge at WrestleMania. That's a good story, right? For
right.
6 months, which is how that story happened. And then you beat Hunter, and then you start chasing the title again because you eliminated the authority. But now what's happening with Seth is that it's like, okay, you went to being, I am the I don't know, I'm the chosen one. I'm the forsaken
It was
son,
that
right?
all white gimmick that I was just talking
Which
about.
is great. If you say I'm here, I'm the savior. I
Yeah,
should be worshipped like a god. Okay, we could run with that for a while, saying I've come to see the light, right?
yeah,
But then you start acting like Beetlejuice. It's kind of a little crazy. And
yeah,
also, it's not like you had a midlife crisis, and there's not even 2 or 3 episodes of Raw of your transformation. And that's my
right.
problem because the in ring ability hasn't changed. The fact that he's using the pedigree or he hasn't used the stomp, which is probably a good thing, because
He
that
tried
stomp,
to a bunch tonight, like 4 or 5 times, like in a row. It's like, all right, bro,
I,
you can't
I,
get it
I
done.
think I think the stomp is not the move for him. I also don't think it's a safe wrestling move per se.
Yeah,
I really think that's a very dangerous move. But again, I'm not a wrestler. Maybe it's beyond safe. I don't know. But the idea is that using the pedigree is kind of cool.
that did seem kind of cool, but it's like that's kind of like Kevin Owens with the stunner. Like, what do y'all motherfuckers? Can y'all not come up with your own shit?
True, true.
Like,
But
I
but
mean,
but
I
but
get, I appreciate that. Stone Cold's okay with him using. I have no problem with that shit. But my thing is like, and I get like maybe every once in a while, like bringing it out, like it's a real cool thing. But now it's your thing doing the pedigree every single time.
my no. But I don't. I think you only used 1 or 2 pedigrees in this match, which I think was cool because I think it's like you got to dig real deep. You
Yeah,
got to dig to your mentor Triple H.
yeah,
That's kind of cool to me, and I
yeah,
kind of like what that story position and bringing that into
yeah. And
the
I didn't even think
repertoire.
about that. That Triple H did mentor him for a bit. Yeah, and Triple H just got through the bypass or the hard thing, so that could was that why he brought out the pedigree or why he was using it lately and
Oh,
stuff.
I think he was becoming desperate, and it
Yeah,
also makes sense on a Cody Rhodes story.
yeah,
The problem is that what would really make great sense is that unfortunately Triple H is retired, but it would
yeah,
be beyond helpful for Cody, because the match that Cody should have had at Mania would have been Triple H,
Yep, that was
not
gonna been that.
Seth. Not Seth. Seth is a good replacement for Triple H.
Yeah, I'll give him that. I'll give him that. I'll give him that.
If there's anybody for Cody to return to, it would be Triple H. Roman Reigns would not have been good. John Cena would not have been good.
No.
Sheamus would not have been good.
All those guys are way too fucking big. It's unbelievable that Cody Rhodes would come out on top.
It's. I mean, Seth Rollins is fucking big. Seth Rollins is. The reason why it works with Seth Rollins is that Seth Rollins' character can handle the loss.
Yeah.
And Sheamus is probably gonna lose tomorrow night. But
And I
with
know
that,
Seth Rollins is big and Cody Rhodes is big. And like for me and you, they're both big. But in spans of like wrestling size, like Roman Reigns was much bigger than fucking Seth Rollins.
I'm not talking about actual size. I'm talking about clout.
Oh, okay, my
WWE.
bad, man, my bad. I thought you
So
were talking about
Seth
size.
Rollins is a top star.
Yeah, he's very top
Even if
star.
he is the first match and is treated as a low level mid carder, Seth Rollins is considered to be a top wrestling star.
Yeah, no, I
You
agree.
could
He
put
is
you
a
could put
top
Becky
wrestling star.
Lynch. You could put Becky Lynch in a bra and panties match, and it is considered to be a top level match.
Yeah.
By definition, not saying that you would do it, not saying that it would happen, but it's the idea that if you put Becky Lynch in a feud with Liv Morgan, not in a title, somewhere on the middle of Raw, it is considered to be a highlighted match and a match that will gather ratings and
Well,
be useful.
First off, Becky Lynch would never be in a bra and panties match.
No, but the
You'd
point
see
is
her
that
penis. No, I'm joking. I'm sorry, man.
if
I
you
was
put
saving that the entire time.
if you put Becky Lynch in a plant on a pole match, for instance, and I'm being very honest about this, the whole thing is that that's a ridiculous match by definition. It's happened before in WWE.
Mm-hmm.
That would still be a top tier match to be in because of Becky Lynch's clout in WWE.
I agree.
With Seth Rollins, the reason why Cody Rhodes versus Seth Rollins was important is that was a draw, but that was not a celebrity draw. Unlike Ronda, unlike Logan Paul, that was actually a wrestling draw, and that was a wrestling draw because Cody's coming off of AEW, and also it solidified and gave Cody the boost he needed back into the company, and it was kind of welcome back to the family type of match.
Yep, you're exactly right.
Very, very important on a business level because this is going to set Cody's position, and hopefully, and Cody is the answer right now because we look at Vince. Look at who Cody is now considered to be an equal in WWE with Seth Rollins as far as clout, as far as other things. Where right now, if you look at, you got Roman Reigns, you got Brock Lesnar, you have Seth Rollins, you have Cody Rhodes. John Cena could come in and out anytime he wants, and then you have Dolph Ziggler, who's a big player, and then I'm trying to think of it. Rey Mysterio, obviously, Edge, AJ Styles. I mean, this is 9 people. I don't know who's a 10th per se. As far as top players, but you can't, and that's just the men. You're not going to put Sasha Banks against Cody Rhodes right now, at the very least. WWE is not at that level. So if we talk about Vince stacking up the deck, the Cody Rhodes accusation, I guess acquiring Cody Rhodes is a big play, and him beating Seth puts him at that level, which puts him into a different play.
I agree.
I mean, Kevin Owens could be the 10th, whether you appreciate, you think Kevin Owens is good or bad, because look at who WWE just lost. I mean, Undertaker's out.
Mm-hmm.
Cena is half there, half not, which is understandable.
Yeah.
Brock Lesnar's half there, half not, which is understandable. But they just lost Jeff Hardy. That's a big loss. I mean, you could put the Miz at the 11th because you put Miz in the mid card. That Logan Paul match was a mid card level match that really helped to boost ratings and was almost a miniature main event.
You're right. You're right. So are we at the Kevin Owens Stone Cold, or
Yeah,
was there
we
another?
could talk about that match because I
Was there another
definitely
match?
no, there was not. One got bumped apparently. The Xavier Woods and Kofi
Okay.
Kingston versus
Yeah,
I
that
think it
one
was,
got bumped because in Big E like still out or something, or like.
no, they're doing it tomorrow.
Okay, okay.
So I think they made a call where they were like, look, we are running already the way we're running, and maybe what happened is that the Becky Lynch, Cody Rhodes, and Charlotte Flair matches went on long enough, and they went
Right,
on the way they should have went on, and maybe they needed an extra 5 minutes each, and so
right.
they said, fuck it, we don't have space for this, and we'll just fit it in tomorrow.
Sounds good. Sounds good. So is the Kevin Owens, because this is the first time I've seen the Kevin Owens show. Does
Great
his
show.
show always end up in a fight?
Only at WrestleMania.
Only at WrestleMania, because
His show usually is sort of like Miz TV, where
because
it usually prompts a match, but not
right.
on the same position or later that night. So
Because I don't know, man. It was great to see Stone Cold again.
did you feel? I'm gonna throw a word. Did you feel like it was almost like a gimmick
Oh yeah, it was definitely a gimmick. I mean,
or gimmicky,
that
for
was
lack of a better
definitely
word?
gimmicky. It was because they were in Dallas and Stone Cold hasn't been back in the WWE ring in 20 years. I was super surprised. I think it only hurt Stone Cold's future pod because he came off looking like the Crypt Keeper.
So let's talk about that because Kevin Owens looked like he was a wrestler,
Yeah,
undeniably.
yeah,
Um, Kevin Owens seemed like it. I thought it was hilarious, personally. Kevin is like, I just wanted to have a conversation. Why don't you take a seat? And like, it's
yeah.
you just don't call that way. I thought it was brilliant, the
Well,
dialogue.
yeah, that's what threw me because the whole reason I got into it is because I saw this promo for Stone Cold saying, Kevin Owens, I'm glad you called me out. I'm ready to get back in the ring and whoop your ass. And then I started hearing about the Kevin Owens show. I was like, wait. Is this a show? Is this all like, I thought this was going to be a match. Like Kevin Owens called him out on the show or something and blah, blah, blah. But then, it just turned into a gimmicky. Like I don't know, man. I would have rather like Kevin Owens was just talking some shit the entire time. I'm gonna call out Stone Cold, and then Stone Cold show up for WrestleMania. Let's do the basic match and not have this fucking so-called interview where the entire time it's just like, all right, come on, Stone Cold
So
comes out with the braces on his knees.
I
Like,
thought it was hilarious. Let me
yeah,
explain. I thought it was pretty funny that Kevin is like, he goes out. It's been a long day.
yeah,
He comes out and he says, "Come on, I said a lot of bad things about Texas," and I thought it was funny when he was saying, "You should be more like me, a French Canadian, and like civilized, and I move away from Texas." And
yeah,
I thought that was brilliant because it turned everybody against Kevin, but also Kevin had some fair, funny points in that, and it was
yeah,
I thought it was fucking hilarious. I really did. And I still think it's funny because he said it, and his facial expression and his emoting was
yeah,
brilliant. It was just
yeah,
brilliant. And I was like, man, this is savage. You should be more like me, man. Not like you. Hell, you should move to Mexico. The land is flat. And he
yeah.
was saying things that were great. And then he said, I lied, which I also thought was brilliant. And it showed how good Kevin Owens is on the mic.
Right.
But I also was like, we should have just had the fucking match. It should have just been booked as a match, and it should have just been booked as a fucking no DQ
Or
match.
they should have booked it as the show and not the finale of the show. Was it always meant to be the finale?
I think the reason why they did that is because it was going to be all the over, and there's going to be tables. And I also think they were like, we know people are going to watch Stone Cold Steve Austin, so they're going to go through and wait for this entire fucking match to see him back in a wrestling ring for the first time.
And see, that's the like.
That's a business decision, though.
And see, if you're gonna put it at the finale, then it should have just been a match. But if you're gonna play it like it's a show, and I'm inviting Stone Cold on, and we're gonna talk and chit chat and
Or
shit.
conversely, you book it as a regular match, and then Kevin Owens says, "You know what? I don't want to just pin your ass. I want to beat the fuck out of you. I want to beat the hell out of you. Let's make it
Yeah,
a no DQ." And then Stone Cold could go on the mic and say, "I accept." And then
right.
they throw it. That's how that thing should have done. Where
Yeah.
that would have been okay, in
The
my
whole
opinion.
little thing, like, it just seemed like, okay, we know you're only bringing Stone Cold out, like, because I guess because the promo that I saw of Stone Cold, it was like, I'm glad you called me out. I'm glad you want me to come out there. I will gladly come and give you a can of whoop ass or some shit like that. And then when I saw the promos on the actual WrestleMania, I was like, so wait, is this a show? I thought they were already doing a match. I thought they already went through all this promo shit and all this talking shit back and forth type thing.
So I think that it starting off as the KO show was kind of stupid.
Yeah.
I think that it would have made more sense if they just beat the shit out of each other for 13 minutes, no pinning, no winning, and
Yeah.
it got to the point where it was clear that Kevin Owens was defeated,
Yeah.
and we all would have known when he was defeated. I think certain elements of it hit right. And if we go into this idea saying, hey, look, we just wanted to see that Stone Cold Steve Austin beat the shit out of Kevin Owens, and we had to sort of preface it and turn it into a match. So it was a show
Right.
that then became a match. Great. It's a little messy. Fine. Who
Right.
cares? Because we really got what we wanted. It's also a cheap plug. It's Texas. Stone Cold Steve Austin is in Texas. We want something to tie this to. And there we go. And we also need to fill up a fuck ton of time. Because the
Yeah.
show itself was like 10 minutes. And then the match was 13 minutes or 14 minutes. And let's be real here, though. Stone Cold did not look good on certain points in this. He was stomping it. He seemed slow as fuck.
Yeah, and then at the end, at the end of the slow stomps, he did a quick stomp, but the quick stomps looked like they were barely anything, and the slow stomps looked like they were barely anything. And it's like at that point, like
There was a particular position where I'm like, he looked like he didn't know what the fuck he was doing. He looked like he had dementia. Like, I'm not even being trying to be mean. Have you ever seen somebody like I've been in an interview, and maybe I don't know if you've ever been here because you do interviews and you speak to people. Have you ever had a moment in an interview like, what question did I just ask this person? And you
I'll do
almost
in every podcast I do. If I don't do like I have to think about every question I'm gonna ask or everything they're gonna bring up because if one thing gets brought up that I didn't think about, that'll be the thing I fucking forget. Like I've literally sat there with my co-host for my podcast, and we couldn't remember. Like right now, I'm gonna do it. Adele. We couldn't remember Adele's name. We were like, "Who was that big girl that got skinny that everyone hates now?" And we're both going back, and I'm like, "Just let it go. I'm not. I'm done with it. Never mind. Not gonna do this." I get what you're talking about, and
so I've been in an interview where I'm just like, oh my God, I don't know what the fuck I'm doing. And it happens very rarely now, but I would say it happens maybe 4 or 5 times a year. And I'm like,
right,
oh shit, like I'm like, and it takes me a good 30 seconds. And it's not completely awkward, but
right,
I know how to jog up positions a little bit and sort of steer it and make it maybe so that it's only like 10 seconds. But I'm like, man, I'm missing a point here. And it happens. So that's what it seemed like with some of those stomps is that it was like,
right,
oh, I'm supposed to stomp him another 4 times. Like
right.
it was very, very weird where I'm like, something seems just weird about this pacing in this position. And he did like 7 stomps in a row.
Well, because they never counted his stomps before. It was never that was never the move. It was always that he just started stomping the shit out of him, just like kicking him uncontrollably. He never counted the stomps. I never remember And maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I'm misremembering. It could be a Mandela effect. But they never count. It was never a counting thing. Whenever he was stomping a mud hole into people's asses.
And so for me, it was just like, and there was like two or three of those moments just on those mud stops, and I'm
Yep.
like, yeah, something's a little bit off here where it's not connecting, and he just seems like,
Well,
oh, I'm
and he's
supposed to.
also been out of the ring for 20 years too. So, like, you can imagine like the ring rust on 20 fucking years.
But then Kevin Owens suplexes him on out in the crowd, and he took
Yep.
that thing like a champ. So I'm like,
Mm-hmm.
wait a second here. There's something where he doesn't know how to do a mud stomp, and that's a bit sloppy. But then he is able to take a suplex like a fucking champ. And I
Well,
was
I
like,
mean, his knees have been fucked up since before he retired. That's when he walked out with the braces on. I was like, okay, so they're calling it the Kevin Owens show, but he's walking out with the braces like he's gonna fight. He never walked out with braces if he wasn't gonna fight. Like even just like if he was just gonna like stun or somebody and like stop a mud hole in somebody, he didn't need the braces on his knees. But this time he was already wearing the braces. He was prepared to fight and he was prepared to do whatever he had to. I just thought the whole thing was very contrived. That's
yeah,
like your fourth
they
yawn, and
were
I've been
forcing
over
it.
here yawning as well, man. I think after that 12-hour fucking broadcast and now trying to do a wrap up
No,
show, man, we're barely laughing.
it was the idea that it was so forced.
Yeah,
And look, I mean, he took that fucking suplex out in the crowd like a fucking
yeah,
champ,
he
which means
did.
he could take, which probably indicates that this was his last big bump, because that
Yep,
really was his last big bump.
yep,
And I get it, where I don't think he's coming out ever again in the ring, and he'll
no,
stun somebody, no
yeah,
question about it, because it's just classic. But
yeah,
he'll only stun certain people. Like, I don't think he's ever stunned John Cena, because why the fuck would you stun John Cena if you're Stone Cold? That
right.
makes no sense.
None at
Um,
all.
it's like you're not gonna go stun the Undertaker. It makes no sense on storyline. But you'll stun Seth Rollins or Kevin
Mm.
Owens. Um, but yeah, I just think that, it was Texas. It was good money, probably for Stone Cold. And yeah, but I have no complaints about the match. I really don't.
No,
Beyond
I
the
mean
fact that
it was a good throwback and
it was
seeing
nice
Stone
nostalgia.
Cold.
It was nice
Yeah,
nostalgia is the way I view it. It was also, I felt, necessary because, again, the whole thing about this is that we had 7 matches. We had 4 matches that were wrestling matches, and then we had 3 matches that were celebrity oriented.
yeah.
But it kept me entertained. I mean, I'm not gonna
Well,
pretend here where I was thoroughly entertained. Even during the pre-show, I was entertained.
yeah.
Like,
Yeah,
I've
my
been.
only I never found myself bored or anything like that. I mean, really and truly, I was sticking around waiting for Stone Cold, but I wasn't technically bored during any of the matches. We'll
I
see
mean,
how tomorrow flows.
the Usos. I was like, okay, cool, makes sense. And then I was happy. Like, I wasn't happy with the first match. I thought the second match
Right,
was great. The Miz and Logan Paul, I thought was cool. I thought it was definitely gonna happen l- later on in the card,
right,
where I'm a little bit surprised, where because obviously the New Day versus Sheamus and Rich Holland, I thought that was going to be on day one, which got bumped. And I thought what was going to happen is that I thought the Miz and Logan Paul was a really, really good high point, and going right into Bianca versus Becky was smart. But I thought
yep,
we were going to take a break, where I did not expect Cody Rhodes versus Seth Rollins. So 3, 4, and 5 were really high points, and then
right,
I thought we were going to take the Xavier Woods New Day versus Sheamus and Rich Holiday as match 6. We're gonna get
yep,
Charlotte Flair versus Ronda Rousey as you know um maybe match 7, and then we're gonna get the Kevin Owens show as match 8. And I was a little bit shocked that it was a very much for match 2 all the way through match 6 was really strong, in my
Right.
opinion. And then match 7 was the Kevin Owens show that was a great match and entertaining as fuck, but not a great match, but entertaining.
Yeah,
Which
entertaining. Not a great match because of Stone Cold's age and everything. He was doing the best he could, though. I mean, it's just
so
when you hear somebody coming out of retirement 20 years later, I mean, well, what did you really expect, man? I didn't expect all that much from Stone Cold. I was like, okay, well, I'm going to see Stone Cold one last time.
it's a little. I'm curious about your opinion, and then we're probably gonna peace out, everybody. So thank you for watching. It's been a long day, and we're gonna do this tomorrow night too.
Cool.
Um, because why the fuck wouldn't we? Um, I'm probably gonna be even more drunk.
There you
But
go.
hey, I got this entire thing to finish off. I bought this 3 weeks ago, so I have a drinking problem.
Jeez,
Um,
man.
yeah, I clearly have a drinking problem.
Mhm.
No, I didn't buy it 3 weeks ago. I bought it yesterday, but that's not the point.
Now it's a drinking problem.
It's only a drinking problem that I didn't finish the bottle on the day
There
that
you
I
go.
bought
There
it.
you go.
No. I really don't have a problem, guys. I'm actually being an adult and I'm being responsible. It was like a month ago I bought that. So again, I'm an
You're good,
adult
man.
and I'm gonna try to make it last another like 3 weeks. So, but I digress. This is why I go see a therapist
There you go.
to encourage me to drink more, not less.
Good therapy.
But how do you feel about what makes a good match? Because that's kind of where I want to end this entire thing.
Um, I don't. It's hard to tell. Like, I didn't think I was gonna enjoy the Becky Lynch match as much as I did. You know, I didn't think I was gonna enjoy. What other match did I think was really good tonight?
Charlotte versus Ronda.
Oh yeah, the Charlotte, the two women's match. I didn't think I was gonna like the two women's matches as I did,
You're
but
sexist. That's all right.
yeah, no, I'm definitely sexist. I just don't think. I just don't always like it. I mean, Charlotte,
This is why we get along because he
yeah,
understands comedy,
yeah,
in which that
somewhat.
clearly, I don't think my friend Keenan is sexist by any stretch of the
Yeah,
imagination.
I'm totally sexist. But I really, I think a good match is all about telling the story. Like, and I think that's what Kevin Owens and the Stone Cold match was lacking was the storytelling. Even like somebody like me, dude, I knew nothing about any of these storylines coming into tonight's WrestleMania. But with it like they tell it with the vignettes, with the quick promos, and then like they finish it with the match, and that tells the story right there. And I think probably the best of the night were Becky Lynch and Charlotte Flair and Ronda Rousey. I think those two matches were probably their best storytelling efforts. The Cody Rhodes one was all right, but I wasn't a huge fan. And like it kind of like because I saw the thing like Vince McMahon's picking the opponent for Seth Rollins, and I'd heard something about Cody Rhodes coming back to WrestleMania or coming back to WWE, and then I didn't put the two together when I saw that. But then when I saw Cody Rhodes, I was like, oh yeah, that seems like a logical conclusion. He would be coming back at WrestleMania to fight Seth Rollins. That seems completely logical. But so I mean, I think it's all about storytelling, and I think it probably could have helped tonight if we did get that breather match like you talked about, because you can't keep going or trying to go up, because then you deflate on something where you shouldn't have deflated on, and that might be why we're kind of deflated on the Stone Cold match a little bit, because we're maybe already done, and that just wasn't a barn burner
I
like every other match was.
I think honestly, I think it would have almost made sense to end right at Charlotte and Ronda and then call it a night.
Yep.
And I think that there's a concept we could go too far. But at the
Yeah.
same time, WWE, this is how I view my show, and I'm very honest about it, is that if I go with somebody for 3 hours, I can always then take that episode and cut it up and
Right.
only take the good points out of it and then put that together in an hour show. And
Hmm.
so a lot of what I do is on my show, and it's not the first round, but sometimes I go on a fishing expedition where I'm like,
Hmm.
look, Look at Joe Rogan, and I'm very honest about it. And this is a podcast position, and maybe it's a WWE position where you have a 5 hour WrestleMania and you have 8 matches. Maybe 4 of those matches are really good matches, and the other 4 suck. You don't know what's going to hit and how it's going to hit per se.
Mm-hmm.
You're doing your best to book it, but maybe later on the W will go in and edit and say, look, we had a really good Ronda Rousey and Charlotte Flair match, and we had the best of Charlotte Flair. And now they could remonetize that match. And you don't need the content of the rest of the show at that point. And they've had a best of so and so's career. And
I
so
think if they would have flipped it to where Ronda and Charlotte ended it, and Stone Cold and Kevin Owens were right before that, 'cause that's getting pretty. I know a lot of people are sticking around for Stone Cold, and I get they want to get that towards the end of the show. But if you stick
I
around for
don't think
Stone
it would have
Cold,
hurt. I don't think it would have hurt Ronda or Charlotte.
and especially if you're sticking around for Stone Cold, then you're probably a fan of somebody called Flair. So if the last match is ending in the name Flair, you might stick around for that as well. I mean, it just just a few missteps in the show, you know.
I think I agree that Kevin Owens and Stone Cold should have probably been before Ronda Rousey and Charlotte Flair, because if you're sticking around for Stone Cold, you're sticking around for Ronda Rousey or Charlotte Flair.
But
And those two
yeah,
names, you might not be sticking around for Becky or Bianca as the last match.
and you know that Stone Cold and Kevin Owens could have been the kind of breather match, because then you even got the Stone Cold drinking beers for 10 minutes after the match. So for more breather to where everybody like, oh, all right, we saw something cool. We saw. All right, let's check out this. Let's see what Miss Flair can do. She's a Flair. Let's see what happens. Because you might, and with Ronda Rousey, that's a name. It probably should, and that's saying a lot coming from me. I feel like this. I've never suggested that a woman should have been like the indie match of any show ever. But
You didn't watch WrestleMania 35, did you?
I think so. I think I watched last year.
No, we're on 38. WrestleMania
Oh
35
motherfucker! See,
was Charlotte Flair versus Becky Lynch versus Ronda Rousey.
oh, yeah, I didn't see that one. No,
To talk about an event, that was the match where it was the first time the women main evented WrestleMania, and it's an amazing match.
and that seems like, I mean, Charlotte Flair is, I mean, she's pretty damn good. And Becky Lynch, as much as I don't want to like her, she's a pretty good wrestler.
That was when Becky Lynch was the man. Like, that was when Becky Lynch was coming into the man and being the man. And that was when Ronda was really hot too. That was the
And
match where Charlotte had the SmackDown title,
all right,
Ronda had the Raw title, and you had the two of them going, and Becky won the Royal Rumble.
yeah,
So now you have Ronda versus Charlotte versus Becky in winner
okay,
takes all match. Talk
okay,
about it, and that's when Becky had both titles because she won at that WrestleMania, and that's where this got really interesting for Becky, and that's when she became the man, because it's like you win both titles in the same night, you're the guy, you're the superstar, you're the it factor.
is
You
that
know,
when you started liking her?
yes, exactly.
I'm
Notice how I just
fucking.
accept the joke because I know
I know.
I'm not going to be able to win.
And on that note, man, it's 2 a.m., dude. I think we got to call it quits, bro. I'm gonna ass out on you.
So we're gonna wrap it up. So I'm gonna give
Yeah.
you a chance to promote yourself. Where can people find you? Check out your show, a bunch of other stuff.
I
We're
don't
probably
want
gonna
your
be back
people to
here tomorrow.
I
So
don't want your people to find me, man. Now they can find me at bobsproduct.com. Everything Bob's Product. Bobsproduct.com. Come and find us. You'll see us there. We're on TikTok. We're on YouTube. We're on everything, man. All our stupidity.
and then as far as I'm concerned, obviously you could come bother me at Pop Anime Comics on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook. If you're watching this show either on YouTube or my Facebook page, you're probably already a fan of me. If you're not and you're seeing it for the first time, two guys talking about WrestleMania. One of them is probably drunk. The other might be on something else. I don't know. It's all right. Again, we're just bullshit to talk about wrestling. But I do a lot of interviews, so you can check out my show. I usually stream on Tuesdays, Wednesdays, and Thursdays right now. And if you want to support the show, I take donations. Buy me a coffee, go on any of my interview links, and you can give me money. I appreciate it. Or you can buy a t-shirt or this sick metal card right here of a big titted psycho killer. She has F cup tits. So you could go basically buy this thing and it's all shiny. You can see like it's shiny and it's all cool. This is actually
He
limited
has
to
a
only.
penis.
No. She does not have a penis.
How
I
can you be
checked.
sure? That looks like only the top half.
No, I checked. I checked when I designed this. I promise.
All
But
right,
this is only limited to 50. So
50.
once I have 46 of them left.
Oh,
So
shit.
it's $15. The link is in the description and in the comment section. So you can go buy this for $15 off of eBay. The prices are not coming down, and I'm in processes of getting more of a different type being made, but it is a super cool one, and she's really, really, really hot. So yeah, if you're into this shit, it's metal. You can see. I don't know if anybody can hear that or.
They can. I can hear it, so they can.
So there you go. It's metal. It's not. I can't bend it. I can't break it. It's pretty durable. So you go buy that, and yeah. So come bother me on social media. I'm very approachable, unless I owe you money. And if that's the case, if I owe you money, I'm gonna quietly walk away as if I broke something in a store. And now me and Keenan are in a conspiracy together. So on that note, we're gonna peace
None
out,
do.
everybody.
Later, guys. Thanks for joining us.
Peace.